Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We're psyched. This is a crazy one. We normally say it's a wild, death-defying. There's no defying death here. There is plenty of death happening in this one. This is the probably the second most murdery crime in sports we've ever done.
Apart from
Randall Woodfield. That was, he was like torturing. He was a serial. It's a goddamn named serial killer.
Right. He had a nickname.
He had a nickname and everything. This guy, a little different. He's not a serial killer, but he's it's not technically a serial killer, but he's prolific. Right. We'll say that much. He's definitely does his thing. Yeah. But thank you guys so much. We'll get to all that. Thank you so much for your reviews this week on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell that is. It means the world to us. So if you haven't got on there yet, please give us 5 stars. Yeah. Tell them you're following instructions, following directions. It doesn't matter what you type. It's not for our ego. We promise you. It's just for business, and it really, really does help out a lot. So it's a great way to help out the show. That's completely free. A way to help out the show that's not completely free, right. But good God, does it help us? And you can be like one of our fine producers who you will hear a long list of later on, who are our favorite people in the world. They have gone over to patreon.com/crime in sports.
That's the one. And don't go to patreon.com and try to fucking search it, because they don't give a shit about us.
That's right. Or go to PayPal, use our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com.
There you go.
Or just skip all of that and go right to shutupandgivememurder.com, and you can find the links to those there. Also the links to all the merchandise, all the t-shirts, and then the cups and the mugs and the things and all that stuff. And most of all, tickets to live small town murder shows, because you got to buy those.
That starts next week.
Yeah, Houston's coming up October 4th, so definitely get there. And Mandy Maloon's going to be there.
She sure will.
Crime and Sports alumni, celebrity alumni.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a good time. Come on out to that, but it is a small town murder, not a crime.
I really
in sports.
can't wait to meet her.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet a lot of people.
Great.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. We can't wait for all of that. We have a lot of fun coming up in the store. It's going to be a blast. We can't wait to meet you guys. But right now, never mind all that shit. Never mind all that. We can't wait to meet
Let's
you.
meet
but
somebody else.
Here's somebody you would not want to meet. We'll say, God, this is a crazy ass story too. Normally, when we do these stories, like I'm looking over them a lot and the notes I take and all this shit. Like I can pretty much, the notes are for dates and times and people's last names and shit like that, and like cities and stuff. But like I pretty much could say it from memory.
You can tell the story.
You could tell us. Yeah. By the way, everybody, people have asked if people thought this was going to be OJ, because I said a murdering football player this week. It's not OJ. And people were saying, they said they'd never do OJ.
Yeah.
We are going to do OJ, but we're going to do it differently than anything else.
It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be OJ from memory.
From memory.
Literally, I've watched.
James is going to tell the story that's stuck in his fucking head.
I've watched the whole trial. I've watched everything. I've watched every bit of OJ there is to know about OJ. I've seen every stitch of video on it and everything, and I'm going to do OJ from memory.
And the good news is I remember, because I was on my way to Blockbuster Video. That's how fucking long ago it was.
That's how you know it was the 90s.
Yeah, I was on my way to Blockbuster Video in a truck that looked exactly like a Ford Bronco.
Perfect.
It was a Dodge Ram Charger.
Same thing.
We were heading to there, and then I heard it on the radio.
That's perfect.
And then we got home, and he was in his driveway at the time, and then I didn't give a fuck because I had whatever new video game. I think it was NBA Live 95.
Was that
Live
around
95.
Was
it then?
94, would have came out. Live 95, one of the all-time best Sega Genesis
it's a fucking
games.
great game.
Amazing, all
or it
the
was
players.
Earthworm Jim. It was something for Sega.
Let's hope it was Live 95.
So I watched that.
All that rookie class was awesome.
And then my junior year of high school, they interrupted class.
Yeah, mine too.
To tell us.
Yeah, mine too.
Somebody stood on a chair and like read out like Orenthal James. I'm like, who? I was like, OJ.
Oh yeah, OJ.
Got it.
Mine was my English teacher in 8th period. Got a phone on the school like classroom phone.
She got a
like
phone
from the
call.
office. Like they put out a phone call to all the classrooms. Literally, she picked it up. She's like, okay, and she goes, do you guys want to know? We're like, fuck yeah, we want to know.
Are you shitting me?
And she was like pissed off about it too.
Wow.
She was a white lady. She wasn't happy at all about the outcome of this shit. And she was like, said it through clenched teeth, not guilty. And I would say 96% of the class broke out in cheers because we were just teenagers.
Right.
Like, yeah, fuck everybody. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If those motherfuckers don't eat heads, like we weren't thinking,
right.
we weren't thinking in terms of, what's a right and wrong.
Justice.
We were like, yeah, stick it to the man. Like OJ was,
time,
was
though,
the man.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Like he needed to be.
At the time, it was funny that he got off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as sad as that was.
Right.
And it's all Fred Goldman's fault. I blame him for everything.
His fucking novelty mustache.
Yeah. Fred Goldman was so fucking obnoxious.
Yeah.
You have to be a special level of obnoxious to turn people against you after your child's been murdered for no reason.
Viciously.
For nothing that they did themselves. They weren't a drug deal gone bad or anything like that.
He's a sweetheart by all accounts.
Yeah, he's just some fucking
returning sunglasses.
aspiring actor, model, waiter guy who was just he wasn't returning sunglasses. But still, we don't know anything about that. But still, that goddamn
he had him.
He did have him. One thing I have to say though about Fred Goldman is this is a quick sidetrack. We apologize for the OJ stuff, but. Imagine this, okay? You're Fred Goldman. Yeah. Your son is an aspiring model actor. He's a waiter at some place.
At a high-class place.
You get a phone call saying your son's been murdered, which is weird already because he's not. But it's L.A. It's a big city. Shit happens, and you go, okay, that's fine. Then they go, yeah, we think O.J. Simpson did it. What the? Imagine my son doesn't even know O.J. Simpson. How? Why would? What? Wait a second. Nordberg killed my kid.
Right. Yeah. Did he pester him for an autograph? Why would he kill him?
How the fuck did that happen? Yeah, because you'd say he doesn't know O.J. Simpson.
How would they fucking cross paths?
They're 20 years difference in age. Like they have no paths that should cross to where he would murder him. Did they get in a bar fight? Like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, somehow it did.
So odd. So strange. So let's get to our subject of the day here.
Yeah.
It is Anthony Wayne Smith. Anthony Smith, he is a Raider defensive lineman.
Okay.
LA/Oakland Raider defensive lineman.
He played both.
And a bad guy. And
really?
Just an undisputedly awful man.
Did
this
he play
guy
in
is.
both cities?
Yeah, he played in both cities. He was drafted in LA and then they moved back to Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't earlier when they were in Oakland. They moved to LA because some of the guys are like that.
That's my favorite Broncos shirt. The one that says "fuck LA, fuck Oakland, fuck LA." Or was it? No,
and then
it goes backward. Right.
Yeah, they go Oakland, LA, Oakland.
Right.
Yeah,
that one.
And then
fuck Oakland. Then it has that crossed off. Then it says LA. That has that crossed off. Then it says Oakland.
It says fuck Las Vegas.
Now fuck Las Vegas.
Wherever they're Duluth or wherever the hell they're moving to. Who cares? Fuck Iowa Falls, man. The Iowa Falls Raiders.
Fuck Sioux Falls. Fuck all the falls.
Fuck them. Fuck Cheyenne,
Wichita,
bitch.
all of it.
So Anthony Smith, born June 28th, 1967, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Okay. Now, here's the thing, okay? He tells some tales when he first gets drafted. Sports writers talk to him, and they want to know his background and shit. So he just makes shit up.
Really?
Yeah. He just tells...
He wants to make his life interesting.
He tells crazy childhood stories, and I think a lot of it has to do with it was like 1991, and he was playing for the Raiders. Yeah. And if you ever seen the 30 for 30 documentary that Ice Cube made about the Raiders and the whole, if you've seen Straight Outta there was a certain vibe in that whole time period of just shit was a little volatile, and you wanted to have a little edge to you.
Right.
And, that's what people were doing, reinventing themselves with an edge, and that's what he was trying to do, like a rapper would do.
Yeah. And the Raiders kind of sucked a little bit then, too,
they
right?
weren't great. They weren't great back
Bo
then.
Jackson.
Yeah, this was Bo Jackson got hurt in the 90 playoffs.
Yeah.
So that was right then, and then... Yeah, it's not
It
great.
wasn't so in that time you've got to if you want to
And
make
then they
it.
were terrible after
Right.
that. It
And
was
for a long fucking
Marcus
time.
Allen, who just wanted to leave and
Right.
went to Kansas City after that,
Right.
and the bad Jay Schrader, Todd Marinovich fucking
Just terrible.
quarterback carousel that they
For
had.
like 10 years.
Yeah, Vince Evans coming in at 44 years old every once in a while.
Jesus.
So
So if you want to stand out on that team and you had a good childhood and there was nothing really to speak of that was different,
well,
maybe you make up a story, especially if you're a psychopath.
he made up a lot of stories, and his stories weren't even like fit. Like, he just said he was from a different place that he wasn't even from. Like,
It's easy to prove.
It wasn't just like, when I was a kid this happened. It was like, I'm from here, and it's like, no, he's from there. He tells everyone that he was raised in New York and belonged to a street gang called the street gang called the Black Spades, which is equally a good name for a street gang and what my grandfather would call black people. So It's
redundant.
It's racist. It's racist and also pretty fucking cool at the same time. If I was a black guy and I wanted to be in like a 70s street gang or some shit, I would want to be a Black Spade. That sounds awesome.
And you're switching it up and you're stealing that racist term from
that's
white
what I mean.
people.
It
That's
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, that's cool as shit. Yeah, I think Estevez Jones was a member of the Black Spades in the 1974 film. Right. I don't even know. I can't remember the
Black
film
Spades
name.
Upon Us.
Black Spades.
Or something. Enter the Black Spade.
Enter the Spade. Yeah, that's what it was. Enter the blackness. So he said when he was 8 years old, 8 now, 8. That's pretty young.
It's early.
He said that he and 3 friends stole a car and crashed it, and 2 of his friends died at 8. Two small children
are dead somewhere.
Died in a car wreck
that Monte Carlo
he
in the
was
70s.
driving. Yeah, they're driving like a 79. They're driving a 79 Monte Carlo, a super sport though.
Right,
it's a nice one. And he just said he took right into an embankment, and then 2 little children are dead. It's tragic, Jimmy.
I think that'd be in the paper.
That's pretty tragic. I would hope so. I don't care how bad of a neighborhood it is. When 4 8-year-olds steal a Monte Carlo and 2 of them die, that's in the paper.
Somebody's going to talk about
no
that.
matter how bad of a neighborhood it is. They weren't out. Yeah. So that was one of his stories. He also said that his drug use was epic, according to him.
When he was 8?
As a child.
Yeah.
No, Jimmy, 8. When he was 9. It's true. I swear to Christ.
When he was 9.
9. He says at 9 years old, he started using heroin, cocaine, PCP, LSD, and speed.
In New York.
All of them at 9. Well, you got to flush out the memory of those 2 dead friends, Jimmy. You've killed 2 young children in a car wreck already.
Who is he telling this to?
What are you going to do? Well, he's telling this to a sports reporter. Okay. He's telling this to people with pens and paper and ways of checking shit out. And that's what he's telling it to.
We're likely going to call his mom and go, why weren't you watching him when he was 8 and 9 stealing cars and
killing
doing
people?
Hard drugs.
Hard drugs. That's the thing. We're not talking. He wasn't doing no fucking
smoking weed.
He wasn't just like, I stole some wine from my grandma and I had a couple of sips. He said he was and not only was like really into heroin, cocaine, PCP, and LSD and speed. Right. Because sometimes the coke, you know what I mean, is a little expensive. So he went with something dirty. He didn't give a shit. Unfucking real, dude. So
and he had a problem. He had to balance.
Well, that was the thing. Well, like I said, the thought
at
of
9, he was a chemist.
Well, the thought of those 2 dead children bouncing around in his head. He knows he did it. He's guilty.
Can't imagine.
At 9, he works down at the factory. It's a tough life at 9. I pictured him covered in soot. Yeah, just covered in soot he's a chimney sweep.
The guilt
with dead.
He's racked with guilt.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's racked. And but in reality, he was actually raised in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Yeah, not even New Jersey. North Carolina, which is not anywhere near there. That's a small coastal and river town. Yeah. So it's
a solid day drive away.
Yeah, surrounded by farmlands. Yeah. This is nothing like what he said, but he sounded a lot more interesting. I mean, the sports writers were probably eating that shit up. You did 8 years old, huh? Wow, that sounds great, Anthony. Because I'm sure for them that they're like, this is great stuff.
Right. You turned it around by 12.
This is amazing stuff, and now you're here. Wow, from being addicted to heroin at fucking 9, now you're here. That's great. And I have to give a lot of credit, by the way, for this story to GQ magazine. magazine, actually, of oddest of all places. A writer named Kathy Dobie, Dobie. This person killed it, writing a very, very, very thorough article on him, kind of before the end, but encompasses most of the details, and really just did an amazing job, super thorough, and I got a lot of the facts of the case and of his background from this person's amazing reporting. Way to go, Kathy. Way to go, GQ magazine. Have to give them their credit, because this couldn't have this story without this article. It was that in depth that couldn't find shit anywhere else. So he also says that his brother died of a heroin overdose. That was another thing. He's like, yeah, man, we were all shooting up. So now he's got these dead kids on his conscience and his dead brother just ODing in front of him.
Yeah.
You know, they were sitting there just wrapped up in
11 years old,
veins popping, and just like, oh man, he did. All right, fuck. I better play football and put this all behind me. But no, he's raised in a farm.
Only child.
He's just an only child, upper middle class. His grandmother was the Attorney General of North Carolina. No, he wasn't. She wasn't at all. Nothing like that happening, but it wasn't a bad place. It was a small town. Everybody knew each other. In the article, they talk about everyone knowing you and your cousin's cousin is how they describe this place.
Okay, so when you come from a place like that, it's best to just tell people that that's where you're from.
That's it. Because from a small town, North Carolina. Right. Cool.
Somebody's got a
awesome.
journal
now
somewhere.
You're here.
Right.
Which is also a great story.
Yeah.
You're from a small town in the middle of nowhere, and you made it all the way to the NFL, and you're playing in L.A., and you're making lots of money. Wow, good for you.
I like that story better than I like the heroin story.
Yeah, but that heroin story, boy, that pops off the page. He was 8 and 9, and that's really a good story.
That story walks.
It's got some legs, boy. I'll tell you. You read that, and you're going, ooh, this guy, I don't know. You're interested in the defensive lineman now.
All of a sudden.
He's killed 2 of his friends and his brother. Wow, this is amazing. In reality, his mother was a woman named Naomi, who was a severe alcoholic. Drank way, way too much. Apparently, everybody said that she died when he was about 3. From some sort of liver failure.
Jesus.
Just overwhelming amounts of alcohol killed her. Now, there's a problem also. We don't know if he's Anthony Wayne Smith Jr. because we have no fucking idea who his father is.
Wow.
So he never knew who his father was, and he had a mother that was an alcoholic and dead by 3. So
but his name is Junior.
But his name isn't a Junior. Right. He could be. We have no fucking idea. It definitely displays Junior behavior. We'll say that much. But and panhandle behavior for that matter. But besides that, this is like a weird small town murder case of like it's that sort of thing. But yes, so he was kind of stuck. If you're 3, this story is just as harrowing like as the other one. I don't know why you wouldn't just tell this.
You got no parents.
Yeah, you have no parents.
That's
your mother.
Insane.
This is a great story. Like if you. I don't know.
Maybe that's why he made up any story he wanted to, because there's no way.
I think it's less. He might have felt embarrassed about his mom, because some people you don't know. He might have felt like he didn't want anybody to know about that. Or
a 9-year-old car stealing heroin addict.
That's better.
That has murdered his 2 friends accidentally.
And his brother. Jimmy. Don't forget about his brother.
Vehicular manslaughtered his friends.
Don't forget about his brother. I'm sure he gave his brother the uncut.
Yeah.
He gave him the pure shit. It was too much. He couldn't take it. His brother was only 11. Jimmy.
Had his brother doing lines instead of shooting.
His little 11-year-old veins. He couldn't fucking handle it. And so you got to snort some too. That's what you do. You do both here.
Son of a preacher man on the radio.
Yeah, that's how it works. So, they don't know who his father was. At the time, his mother was living with a man named James Gallup, and people referred to James Gallup as his father, as his stepfather, but they're pretty sure that wasn't his real father. That's all they know. Okay. He was just like the guy hanging around. Everybody says he was a very mean guy, not a good guy. Gallup, the stepfather. An old family friend said, quote, he'd smile at you and cut you at the same time about Gallup. That we're going to refer to the article. We'll just use what the article refers to him as. The article refers to him as Brian through the whole thing.
Gallup?
No. The guy, the old family friend that he's known since he was a kid that has a lot of background information. So we'll just use the same name they do here. But this Brian guy says this James Gallup was an awful, awful guy. One time when James Gallup thought Naomi was cheating on him, and this is maybe why she drank a lot, possibly because she was in a horrible situation like this. This Gallup picked her up and set her down on the wood burning stove to brand her.
Oh my God! To brand her.
To brand her ass and legs and whatever the fuck hit the wood burning stove.
That's not branding. That's just burning the whole flat area of the backside.
That's just being a fucking monster. I would say.
God.
So this is a bad example. I would think to set. I mean, Anthony, from 0 to 3, this happened. So I'm sure I don't know if he remembers this or whatever, but still, this is the environment he's growing up in, which is fucking crazy right there. Finally, Naomi dies at 3. Anthony's got an older half brother named Donald.
Naomi dies when he's 3.
When Anthony's 3, not when James was. She was going out with a 3-year-old who was super abusive, total dick. He was also heroin, PCP. And,
you know what?
He killed 4 other babies in a car accident.
If he's on heroin at 9, I wouldn't be surprised if she was a mom at 3.
This story, shrug. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
You just go, I don't know, maybe that's possible. Apparently, his older brother's like much older. Like he's like a late teens when Anthony's a small child.
Okay.
So there's a big age difference there. This is Donald, the older brother. Donald ends up kicking James Gallup out of the house once Naomi dies because he's an abusive asshole. And if the mother's not there, hey, we don't really need you anymore.
Fuck him.
Fuck him. So Donald ends up taking care of Anthony, the older brother. So he's got a dead mother, no father, and being taken care of by a teenage brother. So this, like I said, this story is just as incredible. If the end didn't happen, if the horrible things that he ends up doing didn't happen, this would be an amazing tale. This would just be a heartwarming tale. You'd be like, wow, look at you, good for you, kid. You persevered and you got out of this and you made life better for yourself. This is like
fuck Rudy.
This is some sort of amazing success. Or at least Rudy had a mom and like family support and shit. This guy had nothing. So this would be an amazing story, but he definitely fucks it all up hard. So Donald at the time says that everybody says that Donald was a tough guy too, was hard and mean and tough, but still took care of the brother and had some sort of compassion for him. But everybody said that he was a tough fucking guy. I mean, to be able to kick the mother's violent boyfriend out, you have to be, as like a teenager,
tough as a man.
You have to be like a sturdy person. You're not soft or whatever. So for him to be raising him, they said that Donald was, quote, hot-tempered and ill-humored is what people called him. So not a fun guy, Donald, but imagine the life he came up with.
That's a good kid to raise a child.
Yeah. Imagine
if
the
his
fucking
mom's gone.
Imagine the horrible life Donald had later. The mother was alive and with who knows how many different people and alcoholism and abuse, and he's seen horrible shit here. But Donald was also a really hard worker. I mean, for him to be a little violent and have like a shit attitude is completely understandable. He had a fucking horrible life. So, but he ends up working for UPS. The brother Donald, he becomes a deputy sheriff.
What?
And then a magistrate.
What?
And he ends up being
He's just successful.
He ended up having a very respectable life and career and pulling himself out of the muck and the mire here,
That's
which
amazing.
is pretty. Yeah, that's what I mean. This is a goddamn success story, and then it's not. Now later on, Anthony would tell people that Donald used to hit him when he was a young kid. So I mean, he was hit by his brother Donald, which didn't. They put it as like not a big deal. He's like, yeah, he used to hit me and shit, but like that was what everybody did. According to his friend Brian here, they all did it back then. He says, quote, that whole generation of men, they were all angry. For them, it was better to be mad than happy. They couldn't communicate and they didn't know how to fix problems in a simple, civilized way. Oh, they liked to shine on each other. That's what we called it down south, acting like the good guy, like everything in their life was going well, even if they were coming home and beating their kids, which they were. So the guy went on to say that shining was an art down there.
It's called a shiner.
Yeah, it's called a shine. Shining in the north would be he gave me shiners. He came home and beat his whole family and shine. But down there, that means you're
shining on them.
That's just shining. I'm making everybody think everything's fine while I'm beating my wife and kids. I'm like, okay,
really loves them.
We do. This is like where we're absent of southern culture. We're like, oh, fucking no. That sounds awful. They're just everybody acts fine. I guess that's just pretty much like what priests do, or the molesting priests, or people like that. I think that's what that's just shining. They're just shining. That's all. That's
an 8-year-old's poll.
The Catholic Church's official position this week in the court for being United States District Court in the Southern District of New York, their official defense is, we was just shining. I'm not sure that's going to work.
Pastor O'Leary's direct quote, we was shining,
we was shining, y'all, which is odd because he's from Ireland. He's a very Irish man. It's strange that he's whatever. I don't know. So Anthony plays in at Northeastern High in Elizabeth, North Carolina. Okay. 0 other pro players went there. Normally we do a high school. It's like, hey, this guy who played, nobody else ever played there. It's a tiny school in a tiny place.
Is it Elizabeth, North Carolina?
North Carolina,
okay, so it's not like Elizabethtown or anything.
No, it's just Elizabeth, North Carolina, which makes you think of Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is what I thought of, and I wrote NJ instead of NC like 15 times. I'm like, no, fucking idiot. But he thought, football was obviously the thing for him. I mean, even in high school, he's goddamn 6'4". He's, 275 pounds, and he's super athletic. He wore glasses as a teenager and was a little nerdy. Like, he didn't figure out that he was like this giant athletic person yet as a teen. A lot of people don't. They still, it takes a while to grow into that.
I'm just oozing with jealousy. Being that big and athletic.
And everything else.
I had all the other holdbacks of being a dorky fuck with glasses.
Except the giant part of it and athletic.
The giant athletic part would have been nice.
Except for where everyone picked you first in basketball. That's it. Everything minus that part of it. So, I think we all had that. So I guess he was trying to be like everybody else. He wanted to be one of the guys and just kind of blend in. But when you're the biggest, he was like the biggest kid in school. When you're the biggest, most giant kid and you don't really blend in. So that was difficult for him. He said, his friend said, like, he wasn't even aware that he was a better athlete than everybody else and like that kind of shit. He just wasn't.
He had no idea.
It wasn't self-aware. It was just this giant kid that wanted to fit in with that. And they said he did everything well. Wrestled, he played basketball, football, and he was always like the best one without trying.
Fucking jerk.
He just, that guy. That guy. He wasn't really into football, as a matter of fact, until his junior year, and that's when he started. He found working out and got into that. Just threw himself into working out. Okay. So you have a naturally huge athletic kid that's now discovered that he wants to be a workout fiend. So, good things are going to happen for him at this point, athletically, I would imagine. Again, this is, we're both like, I have no connection to this at all.
Great.
Yeah.
What a life. Tell me how huge his dick is and how every chick wanted to fuck him,
too. As a matter of fact, it says here, 17 inches, Jimmy. He actually set a North American world record. And no, I'm just kidding.
Not just North Carolina.
No, North American. Actually, it was in the lawsuit for just shining. That's how I got the number.
He lettered in giant dick.
He lettered in. He had a C on his shirt. Right. It was an E for Elizabethtown and then a C for Cockmaster, for Coxman, Cockslinger. So he's even fast. That's the other thing too. Like, he's not just a big schlub. Like, he's an athlete. He's fast, and the coaches are excited as they watch him. They're like, holy shit, we ain't never seen nothing like that before. We are going to exploit this boy as far as we possibly can.
He's going to pay so many mortgages for me.
Forget about it. I'm telling you, I'm going to get money from a college so they can just talk to him, because I'm going to be in charge of the recruiting process. That's how this is going to work.
His high school career is going to pay for my mortgage. Then my lake house, forget it. That's college. And then my retirement fund is coming with that pro money.
Those big colleges, they know how that works. All of his coaches, they had the same words for him, and this article describes that like every coach said the same thing, that these 4 words came up a lot: enthusiastic, courteous, earnest, and voluble. So he was just a nice guy.
Voluble or valuable?
Voluble.
What the fuck does that word mean? I have no fucking idea about voluble. I know valuable.
Let's just look at it in context.
Okay.
If it's enthusiastic, courteous, earnest, and voluble, I'm assuming it means
a positive word.
It's somewhere between courteous and earnest, let's say. It's in there. It's in that wheelhouse I'm going to go with. Okay. What do you say? I wouldn't think it would be he's enthusiastic, courteous, earnest, and a pedophile. I don't think that's all. I don't think we're going to put all those in there together. So voluble is good.
Holy Christ! I just had a tingle in my balls, and it hurts so bad right now.
That's amazing.
It feels like I just tore my scrotum laughing.
That's a compliment. I always said in stand-up, I want to kill a man. Yeah. I want a heart attack to happen, because that would, sorry, people who died, but that'd be a compliment to me. But I just destroyed a nutsack, which is making me happy.
So bad.
Oh man, Jimmy's poor nutsack. I apologize.
Every laugh, it pulsates. Jesus. I think my sack is doing kegels right now.
His pulsating nutsack.
What is happening? Oh my God! I think I need a voluble doctor.
You do.
That's what I need.
You need voluble amount of medical attention. A guy who's somewhere between courteous and earnest, because he's going to have a hold of your balls. So we want courteous to be in there.
Oh, good Christ! I think that's injury. I think that's what that is.
We just gave Jimmy a laughing hernia. That's when you know you're getting old. When laughing can injure you.
Yeah.
That used to be fun. Now you're like, I don't know if I go out tonight and laugh. I don't know if I got that in me.
Oh, it stings so bad.
This show is dangerous. See, that's why patreon.com/crime and sports, because we talk about putting yourself on the line.
You never know.
And now Jimmy's got to play injured. Now he's got to go in there, his nutsack hurt, and he's got to finish it out. He's going to be laughing.
Yeah.
He's like a quarterback with a separated shoulder. He's going to get hit again. He's going to fall, but he's staying in the fucking game.
I'm Earl Thomas at this second.
He's Earl Thomas. Well, he got carted off.
Yeah,
he didn't stay in the game.
No, he didn't.
He couldn't. I mean, his leg was broken.
But I'm close. I'm right
close.
there.
Yeah, that's right. It's close. This is worse. It could be worse.
One more hit.
His defensive line coach, Anthony's defensive line coach in high school, is a guy named David Brinson. He says, quote, "I don't want to say the wrong thing. He was a super good guy. He just did things a little differently. He did things Anthony Smith's way. I don't remember him not getting along with anyone. I mean, he'd walk up to you and start talking to you about anything. He liked to be where he was." So I don't know what he liked to be where he was means.
Is that like a Brady Bunch quote? Wherever you go, there you are.
I've never heard that. But he just liked to be where he was.
I don't know what the fuck that means,
sir. What the fuck are you talking about?
I think he made up the word voluble. That's what I think
he did.
Happened.
Yeah, all the coaches, they were like, "That boy voluble," and they're like, "Yeah, he is, isn't he?"
I heard he said voluble. I'm just going to play along like I know what that shit means, because
I think he meant valuable.
I don't want to look like some asshole.
We're going to look stupid now. We need to know the meaning of fucking words. If he knows it, we should know it.
I don't want to admit that I don't know it, because I will look stupid.
I'll look like an asshole.
A guy that makes a podcast.
You know, like a guy who hurts his nutsack laughing during a podcast. So they said also he didn't really have any close friends on the team. He was, sociable, and he'd go in, like he said, and talk to people, but he liked to be where he was, and that was it. I mean, he just liked to be whatever, and didn't really have any close friends. He just kind of fit in. One time he said at home it was kind of rough because his brother was, coming into his own and having a life, and he wasn't ready. He wasn't settling down with a family. He was a kid in his 20s who was raising a teenager. Right. So he said, Anthony once said that Donald, quote, had a life of his own to live, but what I needed was to be a son to somebody. Oh. So he's a kid in search of a father and a role model, and he doesn't know his dad, obviously, and he's got his brother here, and his brother's doing his own shit, and it's his brother, so he's not going to treat him like his son. Right. He's going to treat him like his brother, and so he's looking for more.
That quote stings.
That's so a tough one. Yeah,
that's a nutsack terror.
I needed to be son to somebody. Yeah,
that is brutal.
That'll heal your nutsack. That's so not.
That's very much like I felt that so much when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I watched Tombstone. Obviously, there was one quote in that movie that stuck with me so hard. I think I had already talked about it.
Which
before.
one?
The one that when they're on the river and Wyatt has a shootout, and then at the end,
no,
Doc's lying on the fixing his horse, and they go, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "Because Wyatt Earp's my friend." And they go, "Yeah, hell, I got lots of friends." And then he goes, "I don't."
That's a good line.
It's so poignant. I was like, that's my guy right there.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel.
That's a good guy, Doc Holliday. Yeah.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
And now back to the show.
But he is not Doc Hollywood, or he's not Wyatt Earp.
Doc Holliday.
For that, Doc Hollywood. Did I say Doc Hollywood? Yeah. So funny. Never mind. I saw a thing about Doc Hollywood the other night, too, and I was thinking about it. I go, I love Doc Hollywood.
It's such
We've
a great movie.
We've talked about it 100 times on the show.
What did you see about
it's so good. I don't even fucking remember.
Oh, God, Jesus.
I don't remember what the fuck it was.
Now I want to know what it was.
I don't remember now.
Riveted.
God damn it. That's a tough one. But so he's looking for this father figure, and what he finds is a college coach.
Perfect.
Because these guys are they're almost like pastors leading one of these mega churches. Like that's what they are. They're not just football coaches.
Right.
Like you're not going to get Bill Belichick to coach a college team. No. Him going out there going, we're gonna play Georgia Tech next week, and hopefully we'll win. I don't know. Next question.
You need Joel Osteen out there calling him a faggot.
He played well. Next question. No, that doesn't fly because it's a show. You need the boosters to be donating, alumni to be putting it in, and you got to be bopping and scatting all over the place if you want to be a college coach and get some dough from people. So these guys are salesmen, and so a lot of times that's how they sell recruits. If that's what they sense of, that's what they're looking for, a father figure, then they're going to be that father figure.
Absolutely.
And that's what ends up happening here with Ray Perkins. He recruits him to Alabama, which is a huge program for a kid from a small town in North Carolina. Right. You're going to go to the Crimson Tide. That's kind of a big deal here. If you're not from America, you don't understand college football. Apparently, everybody says he kept to himself a lot at Alabama and didn't hang around with too many other players.
Sure.
Which to me sounds reasonable. Like
that's your guy.
That's my guy. Yeah. I've never been in a group of 50 people who I agree with everybody with and I want to hang out with, and I think everyone's got a good personality. It doesn't work like that. I like 3 of them, the rest of them are douchebags, and that's the end of it.
Let's all go get Froyo together.
No, I don't want to. You go get Froyo, and we'll get ice cream and make fun of your Froyo eating asses. Fucking douches. So yeah, that's
perfect. That's you in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for the football culture. It's like how we found each other in comedy. It's like we don't like a lot of people.
Fuck that
you neither?
Guy. You too?
Really? Wow. Great.
Tell me why he slighted you. Tell me why he slighted you.
Yes, fuck that guy indeed.
That guy.
And him and her and that guy too. All right. And then here we are. Some years later.
Let's make a podcast
where we pick a guy and then make fun of him. So we've really honed our fucking blade here and gotten it sharp over the years.
Sharp.
This is all we've been doing. So wow, that's really disturbing. Everybody said he had better manners than everybody else, but that's kind of a Southern thing, I think. Too.
Yeah.
I think he's just shining.
Right.
You know? That's all it is. He's just shining.
That's just indoctrinated where you're from. That's it.
I love this now. Whenever any of these athletes are full of shit, whenever they're saying anything, I'm going to just say, oh, he's just shining. That's all. From now on, that's going to be our term for any sort of fuckery is going to be just shining.
I like it.
He says that one of his teammates says that a lot of the guys found him intimidating, and he couldn't exactly figure out why. The guy says, quote, if you looked at him, there was just something which didn't click right, which he's huge and kind of quiet. And he's got a little bit, even if he's like kind of a wise ass, which that can be taken completely wrong if you're enormous. That can be taken as a frightening, menacing thing rather than, if it's you, it's sort of endearing.
Mike Singletary tells me a joke. I don't
laughing.
know whether I like it or not.
Oh, that's
There's
a good one, Mike.
Coming.
Yeah, that's going to be funny. It could be anything.
Terrifying man.
It could have anything in it. It could be about beating your wife. Or it could have the N-word in it. You'd be like, that's a great joke, Mike. Hilarious. I'll have a good one. Take it easy. I'll see you later. They said, and this I relate to and you relate to. He says, quote, he would crack one of his dark little jokes that only a couple guys found funny, and then he would fall silent. Yeah.
That's us.
That's us.
I'm in.
This guy, maybe he's just in the wrong field.
Right.
He should have been a comedian.
It's
I feel like
true.
He would have been great at it, and he would have, just a couple guys, dark little, well, he's not for the mass audience. I get it.
Is there a black comic that does dark jokes?
Yeah,
Is
I
there
assume.
One? I mean,
I don't know all of the black comics, but yeah, I mean, what you're saying, yeah. Dark in terms of tone, not in terms of tone. Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying.
Is there a black Anthony Jeselnik? That's what I mean. Because
I'm sure.
If there's not, fucking somebody aim at that target because you can hit it.
I don't keep up with everybody famous. Because I hate comedy, but it's that's what you could do it. That's your niche.
I don't
Anthony
know of
Davis.
One. I haven't heard of one.
Well, we'll find out.
He could have crushed it.
You know what? This story isn't over, Jimmy. He might have played some football, realized that athletics weren't for him, gone to, an open mic night, and next thing you know, this could end with, he was doing the Tonight Show. He was just on Fallon recently. We don't know.
Patrice died and opened the door for him.
There you go.
That's what happened.
Opened the door. He kicked it right open, and here he came. Yeah, that's what it was. So his teammate here said, quote, he would create a significant amount of angst just sitting there and not saying anything. It was like going up to a dog, and the dog is super beautiful, sweet looking, wagging its tail, and it's acting really friendly, but there's just something about the dog. You worry one day he's going to bite your hand. Yeah. So he's an unstable dog is what he's been called.
He's a rescue pit.
Yeah, he's a rescue pit, but he's shining, so it's okay. And he's got a good 5. He's got a solid 5 that he could throw up at an open mic night on the offensive line. So
a solid 5 and an unbelievable 40.
Unbelievable 40.
This kid's he's a unicorn.
He's doing great. He's playing defensive line, by the way, this giant son of a bitch here. So people are worried about him. 86, he's on Alabama. Alabama is, this time, he's a freshman, so he doesn't play very much. Mike Shula is the quarterback, son of legendary Dolphin coach Don Shula, and failed coach in numerous NFL cities. And I believe he's coaching in a college somewhere.
Probably.
Somewhere in the Southeast, I want to say.
Coordinating
I believe.
some shit.
Yeah, I believe somewhere in the SEC or one of those places.
He carries a net full of balls for 4 months a year.
You know he does that. Also on this team is Howard Cross, the best known as the other giant tight end when Mark Bavaro was there, the guy who doesn't drag 5 people off of him while he runs down the field. So he didn't get a lot of credit in the late 80s.
So the guy good for a 5-yard dump off.
That's it. Yeah, if they're distracted by Bavaro or somebody else. So Cornelius Bennett also on the team.
Amazing.
Long time, really, really good Bills, I believe, linebacker.
I think that's true.
Was he 56? 56.
Yeah.
55 was Conlon. Yeah, wow. Okay, that goes back. Anyway, yeah. 57.
That was the...
57 was... 56 was Tally. 57 was Cornelius Bennett. 55 was Shane Conlon, if I'm not mistaken.
You're really good at the Bills defense.
That's ridiculous.
Because I can only pick Andre Reed and... same team, though, right?
Yes. If you take like a 1990, for some reason when I was 12, I must have just... I don't know what I must have went like completely. My brain fucking just attached itself to football that year because I remember every player on every roster, their numbers, their stat. It's a weird, and I can't get rid of it. I've tried. I need the room, trust me, and I can't fucking get rid of it. It's stuck there. If I could be wrong on all those things, but
it's
I believe
possible.
that's what it was. I'm sure.
Even still, it's pretty impressive that a child can memorize that. Not just memorize it, but then an adult that was that child can recall it.
I have weird memory things like that.
It's just focus. You have hyper focus. That's why research is so good on these.
I'm weird. That's what it is. Just say it. You're a weird dude. So you're an odd fucking
a very
bird.
Strange duck.
I am a strange duck. So I was a fun kid, as you might imagine.
Well, you got webbed feet. Just get in the water. You're the weird duck that walks around the pond.
I don't know about this.
Doesn't go in the water.
If everybody's in the pond, something must be wrong with it. There must be something good out here, and I'm the only one who's going to find it. So let me check around first.
That's you.
That's me. That's yeah. And all right. So that year, Alabama 10-3, which is good. They're good for ninth in the AP poll, which is pretty decent.
10-3.
10-3, and they go to the Sun Bowl.
Yeah. Which is fucking wherever.
Yeah, where
in the sun somewhere.
It's somewhere sunny.
Yeah.
I assume it's not in. Maybe it's probably outdoors.
Yeah.
I figure just an outdoor turf state, one of those college turf sun.
It's
hot.
not in Washington.
No, it's in Texas or Florida.
Florida's got so many.
They got a ton of them,
and
there.
they deserve it.
They're fine. Take all the bowls.
Yeah,
take them all.
You need them.
Yeah,
Southern California, Florida, and Texas.
Those are the big ones.
Louisiana's not bad either.
No, they have the Cotton Bowl, and then there's the Sugar Bowl down there. But those are all indoor,
right?
So it doesn't matter.
What's the point?
So they win 28-6 against Washington here in the Sun Bowl. 1987, Anthony's a backup. He's in and out of the lineup pretty much because he's a sophomore now, so he's trying to work his way in. The team goes 7-5 that year under Coach Bill Curry. Now Ray Perkins leaves.
Okay.
This is a problem because that's the reason he went there. That's his guy. Right. That's his father figure. It's the guy he latched himself onto. This guy came into town, with his tent selling his fucking wares, and Anthony bought into it, and then he's like, all right, see you later now. And he left town. He's like, what happened to Jesus?
I need a refill on my snake oil.
Oh, I'm all out. Damn. All out of snake oil. Shit. So, and also too, this Bill Curry takes a team to 7-5 record, which is not wonderful for Alabama. That's not acceptable for Alabama fans there. And they end up going to the Hall of Fame Bowl versus Michigan. But Michigan's a big opponent for them. Those are two big teams from different conferences, and they lose 28-24. So that's not, Alabama fans must have been fucking pissed. Furious right now. Perkins left to go coach the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which if you know anything about late 80s NFL, he did not do a good job whatsoever.
But he probably didn't do well with a shit hand. You know what I mean?
No, it was a terrible hand. But he had Steve Young running around. I think he got traded to San Francisco for that season because that rookie year Steve Young was in after he came from the USFL.
Yeah.
Terrible team around him. There's a highlight of him in the snow. They're on the road, Tampa, and they have their road unis were all white. They weren't the pewter; they were those peach. They were those peach and white ones. But the road jerseys were white pants.
Pirate
with the pirate who was that pirate was aggressive. He had a knife in his mouth. He's like, "We're going to do this. It's happening." So it's an all white uniform, and they're in the middle of a blizzard.
Perfect.
And it's like the most saddest day ever for a quarterback because they show on the camera, you can't see his other players on the team. Like you can't see his receivers out there. It's just so he's like, I don't even know where the fuck to throw.
And the helmets were white too.
Everything on it was white. And the color, it wasn't even like they had like a crimson on there to make it pop. It was fucking peach. So it's just gone in a snowstorm. So he didn't know where to throw, and it was a mess. So that's a bad. Then they got Vinny Testaverde, which didn't go much better. It was bad.
That poor guy probably has a fuckload of money, though. Vinny Testaverde, as much as he
played
just
a lot.
failed.
Well, if you've seen the Broke documentary, Vinny Testaverde does not have a lot of money.
Really?
Vinny Testaverde got taken. Never mind. That's Bernie Kosar.
Okay.
Vinny Testaverde's fine.
Okay.
They look similar, Vinny Kosar and Vinny.
And they had a similar career, too.
They had a similar type of thing. Vinny just played forever, played longer. But Bernie Kosar's like, Dad took all his money, and then he's a poor. The psychology behind Bernie Kosar. If you watch this documentary, you just want to hug the guy. You just want to go, I'm sorry, brother. Come here. Just want to give him a hug and go, it's going to be all right, man.
Meanwhile, Sam Bradford has done fucking nothing in the NFL. He's made $120 million.
So much money for being so mediocre.
Nothing.
He just got drafted at the perfect time.
Yeah.
His timing is impeccable, is all it is.
He scored vaguely a few more touchdowns than me. That's it. And he has $120 million.
Jesus Christ. So Perkins leaves to coach them, and this is Anthony's upset now about this, so he ends up transferring to the University of Arizona.
Okay.
So he transfers to U of A because he's pissed off at Alabama.
Yeah.
He majors in social and behavioral sciences when he goes to Arizona. I believe 88 was a transfer year, and you have to sit out a year if you transfer. I believe so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
that's a good rule.
I believe 88 because I couldn't find him on a roster in 88, and I believe that's probably why. But 89, he goes to U of A. Fucking, he does great. He wins first team All Pac-10 honors.
All right.
He's really good on that team. Their quarterback's name was Ronald Veal.
Yeesh.
Ronald Veal,
like the meat.
That's
exactly
like the meat.
Like the meat.
That is absolutely fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Ronald Veal. He's a god-awful quarterback with 13 touchdowns and 18 interceptions in his whole college career. So that tells you a lot about old Ronald Veal and how good the U of A team was back
then.
He's
selling insurance for sure.
Oh, you know he is. Ronald Veal, how you doing? He's like Phil Ryerson in Groundhog's Day. Let me ask you something.
Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson.
Yeah.
Phil, because Phil's his name.
He's
Phil.
Right.
Ned, yeah. Jesus, I'm off. Anyway.
Ned? No, he says
he's Phil.
Right.
Phil.
And he goes, Ned Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson.
I dated your sister. That's the weirdest fucking way to introduce
that
yourself
is weird.
to somebody.
Remember when I put it in?
Right.
The funniest thing is that happened to me one time when I was back in New York. I ran into this guy who I knew vaguely, and I was like, hey, what's up? And the only quick connection I could make, the closest one, is I took your sister to the prom. She was like, that's weird.
I came on your sister's face.
I didn't. That did not happen, actually, with that at all.
I tried to do
for
something.
For clarity's sake, that did not happen.
I tried to do something terrible to
I
your
did
sister.
take her to the prom. That I did do. And I probably would have. I would have, I'm sure, done something. Whatever terrible came up, I'm sure. So Ronald Veal is in the same boat here. Yeah. He's going to make sure you're insured for such a thing. Now, Anthony has 71 tackles and 5 sacks this year in college.
That's outstanding.
Outstanding. And on an 8-4 team, they're 25th in the final AP poll, so they make the top 25. Arizona for once. It's under Coach Dick Tomey.
Okay.
They go to the Copper Bowl.
How about that?
Wow,
was that in Arizona?
Everybody, no.
Where is
I don't
that?
think the Copper
Why wouldn't
Bowl.
they have the Copper Bowl here in this fucking state?
Isn't one of the states the Copper State?
Arizona.
We're not the Copper State, are we?
I think so.
Are we really?
Well, we're the Grand Canyon.
We're the
state.
Grand
That's
Canyon State. Yeah, I don't think that. I think there's. I don't know what the fuck the Copper
State.
I don't know.
God damn it!
You know what? Too. It doesn't. It's not like they're playing like Northern Arizona, so you can tell they're playing North Carolina State. So it could be anywhere in between there. We have no idea. But they win in the Copper Bowl 17-10.
Oh boy!
So a win for the U of A team. Anthony starts on the defensive line, obviously from his stats. Now his stats and the fact that he went to Alabama before, so he was on people's radar, does well in Arizona. This puts him on the NFL's radar as well. And April 22nd and 23rd of 1990 is the 1990 NFL draft, which, like I said, this is probably the draft where I know it the best. Yeah. I remember all the pro set football cards of the whole draft, and this guy's a draft guy. I know, this is like I said, this is my year here. I know more about this than anything. April 22nd, 23rd, 90. It's at the Marriott Marquis in New York City on ESPN.
Yeah.
This is before it was a big deal, too. They just put it on at like 8 in the morning.
Sure.
They didn't have like a primetime special.
It's a big thing.
It was. This was number one.
It's a big deal for every kid that's about to get drafted and nobody else.
And nobody else. Nobody else cared. It was just a kid in a bad suit making more money than you'll ever make. That's all it is. That's all it was. Number one overall was Jeff George. We've talked about him, the disastrous. God, he had the greatest physical, just amazing arm. He's like a practically Dan Marino kind of arm, and just as such an asshole that even that couldn't make him a good quarterback. That's how much everyone hated him. He was a cocky dick. Everyone that interacted with him said he's a piece of shit. Number two overall, Blair Thomas, the running back from Penn State, who I remember, and he had a very mediocre career with the Jets, because that's what the Jets did in the 90s.
They turned anybody that was going to be anything into nothing.
Squeezed the life out of him. Cortez Kennedy, number 3 overall. Then Keith McCants, who's also on that Broke documentary, talking about how broke he is. He sounds... Allegedly, in my opinion, he sounds like looks like he's on a lot of painkillers in this documentary. He's slurring his speech. He's not like holding his head up high. It's really weird. Yeah, he talks about I bought a boat and I bought 2 houses and I bought this and bought that. It's like, why were you buying all that? Why are you buying multiple houses? How many houses can you live in? Buy one.
Why?
The only reason to buy a second house is when you're like, I don't know what to do with all this money. I've had it for so long. It's getting dusty. I need to fucking spend it.
And I'm paying taxes on way too much.
Yeah.
I need something that
Let me get some property. I'll pay taxes on that too.
Cushion.
At least it might appreciate in value. So that's, Keith McCants. Junior Seau, number 5 overall. So you got McCants and you could have had Seau.
I didn't realize he went that far down.
Yeah, that's how inept the Buccaneers were. They wanted a linebacker, so they got Keith McCants instead of Junior Seau, who's a fucking everything Hall of Famer. Number 6 overall was Mark Carrier, the nasty free safety for the Bears, number 20 for years. Fuck it, he hit and intercept. He was a just a great free safety.
Remember him.
Andre Ware, number 7, the Lions quarterback who, God, he played for Houston and had gaudy numbers. Houston, the college. And then I think he had about 8 snaps in the entire. I remember as a kid being like, play Andre Ware. Right. I remember like you'd play like the Madden game. I'd put him in for the Lions. I'd be like, he's going to be good. And then he never played ever. And I knew nothing. So finally, though, number 11 overall, only the second defensive lineman. He's the second defensive lineman taken is Anthony Smith.
Really?
Taken number 11 overall by the, at the time, Los Angeles Raiders. So to get drafted by the Raiders in 1990 gave you a certain thing
little
too. Little swagger, because the Raiders were like that's what Dr. Dre would wear the hat of in a video until he switched to the White Sox. But
but if it wasn't a Sox hat, it was a Raiders cap for sure.
All the guys in NWA had Raiders caps on. That was the bottom line here. So he's only the second. The Ray Agnew was taken before him by the Patriots. Only the second defensive lineman taken. I'm sorry, no, Cortez Kennedy was a defensive tackle. I'm a fucking moron.
I don't think, as much as I loved Dr. Dre and NWA, I don't think I know why they went to the fucking Sox hat. Why did they do that?
Well, it was just Dre that went to the Sox hat.
It was just a cool hat? Is it just a choice?
I think it was just different because everyone else had a Kings or Raiders hat, so he was like, Sox hat's the same thing. It's black and white, and it's different. Yeah. And they had just changed that logos to make the black hat with the thing, so it made it kind of cool. Frank Thomas was a rookie then, too.
I wish he had a conversation with you in 1990 and went with like some Negro League stuff.
Oh, I could have turned him on to the Newark Eagles or some shit like that. Yeah, see, all the hats I have.
So rad.
Yeah, he fucked it up. Come on, Dre.
And then they'd be
me.
like, what is this hat you're wearing, Dr. Dre? Like some
and
white person.
And he could have a story behind it.
Yo, it's a Negro League hat.
Whereas me, I'm just like, it's a hat. Don't worry about it.
It made like white interviewers so uncomfortable not being able to say, it's a what? Say it again.
What was that?
Say that for me.
What was that again? What league is that?
What's
It's like, that's what it's called. In the Hall of Fame, there's a big plaque. What else? There's nothing else you could call it. You just can't call it anything else. It's just what it was called.
They make you feel uncomfortable when you walk into a hats place, though. And I asked for a Negro League hat, and the guy looked at me like I was a racist.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm the racist?
League. Yeah.
I'm the racist? You're the one that doesn't have the hat,
Well,
sir.
what else? Not only that, anything else, if you called it something else, it would be disrespectful. What do you say? You got any of the Black Guy League hat? No, that's worse. It's way worse. You know what I'm saying? Have some respect for Satchel Paige pitching the fucking Negro League. You didn't pitch in the Black Guy League. It takes something away from it.
You got any all people of color league hats? Dude?
Yeah.
That's too many words. That sounds ridiculous.
And I don't want to mix the word color in there, too, because that sounds like from back then, it's like the colored league, which sounds worse than Negro. We're down a path that we're not going to recover from. Let's just stop now. But later on in this draft, they picked Anthony Smith, the Raiders, and as smart as the Raiders are, 17, Emmitt Smith goes to the Dallas Cowboys, so there's an all-time Hall of Fame, I believe the all-time leading rusher, as a matter of fact.
Maybe the all-time cheapest man on earth.
Could have had him. I heard that about him.
This motherfucker had a yard sale when he retired, because he retired from the Cardinals, signed a one-day with the Cowboys, and then retired altogether, right? So when he was living here, he was renting Shaq's house in Paradise Valley. He had a yard sale selling all his shit before he moved, and if I could say he raked people over the coals,
that's funny,
I can't
because it was his shit.
Because it's Emmitt Smith's shit.
Yeah.
He was selling his old shoes that he just like basketball shoes he'd wear to the grocery store.
Cleats.
No.
He's not selling.
These are some shit Adidas.
This is the '94 NFC Championship game cleats. That's
Christ, no. Yeah. These are, I mowed my lawn in these, and he's selling them for $80.
Size 7 Reeboks. Thanks a lot,
what
you little
piece
bastard.
Of shit.
Nothing you could do there. That's hilarious. Number 18 overall, the Packers picked Tony Bennett. That didn't work out because he was a 70-year-old Italian man, so he didn't play very, very well there. So that didn't work out. But a lot of other guys got drafted there. But basically, they missed out on Emmitt Smith, and they got, as a lot of teams did, and they ended up with fucking Anthony Smith, and we'll find out how that turns out. Later on, Neil O'Donnell went in round 3. The beaver-faced quarterback.
For the fucking Steelers.
Yeah, for the Steelers and a bunch of other teams. God, he was fucking hot garbage. The Jets when they were awful. You could see it through his helmet, just his big chiclet teeth sticking out. Larry Centers went in round 3.
Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals.
Yeah.
Great running back,
player.
actually.
Yeah.
Barry Foster in round 5 was a nasty Steelers running back for like 3 years, and then he decided he didn't feel like it anymore. Shannon Sharp in round 7, one of your favorites, I know.
Best tight end.
And John Randall was undrafted.
Really?
Was the great defensive lineman for the Vikings for a long time with the war paint and all that shit.
He was undrafted.
Undrafted guy.
Unbelievable.
Undrafted free agent, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
They didn't. He wasn't projected first round, which is what the Raiders did a lot. Yeah. They'd go, this guy's a 3rd round draft pick. Well, he'd be like, let's draft him number 8 overall and give him 4 times as much money as he deserves. If you just trade that pick, and you can draft him the next round, and you can pay him less, you fucking dummy. So,
and Al Davis has an eternal flame because of that shit. Because of this dumb decisions.
Yeah, he was surprised to be taken so early. He never expected that. He wasn't expecting that phone to ring today.
Yeah.
That shit was going to come tomorrow. He was happy that he went to the Raiders. He told an interviewer here, quote, "The team fits my personality and fits my style of play. I like sort of roaming around in the field like a free spirit, sort of with a hardcore hell-bent for leather attitude."
Jesus.
It's a lot there.
He quoted Judas Priest.
Jesus, I think he did. I believe he quoted a metal. Isn't that the name of a Slayer album? That's Hell Bent for Leather. Oh, I believe that's a Slayer album. I'm not sure how that fucking works.
That's crazy.
And also another thing, super smart of the Raiders. 1990 season, he misses the whole season with knee surgery.
Wow.
So even their rookie that they drafted way out of above where he should have been drafted also needs knee surgery.
Not even on the team.
Smart Raiders. You wonder why the Raiders were in a dark period for a long time then.
Yeah.
Odd, right? Weird though. He gets right into the community when he gets to LA. He turns into like a good guy. He starts volunteering for a mentoring program with the mayor's office.
Wow.
Goes into South Central LA, goes into Compton, goes in all these different places and like walks around. Just, I'm on the Raiders, motherfuckers. What's up? Come on, kids, let's hang out. Like just doing mentoring programs, going to parks and really fucking cool shit. And the kids loved him too. Like he was he was a Raider. So, I mean, they wanted to hang out with him, and he was a cool guy to the kids. He said one time he stayed with one of the kids' families in Compton overnight.
That's weird now.
Which is getting weird. It's like, go home now. Go get a hotel. You play for the Raiders. What are you doing? He says, Jesus Christ, this is so fucking weird. Let's do it in their own words here. What the hell? We should have done one on the last one, but let's do it for this one because it's just as crazy. He says, in their own words, quote, "I was lonely, away from home, didn't have anybody to look after me. So maybe if I tried, or if I'm tired or don't feel well, I stay the night with a kid's family. Next day I wake up, my car's washed and my laundry's done."
What?
What are you
talking about?
Are you mentoring them or are they your fucking assistant?
Right.
You need a personal assistant is what you need. Not just, he just goes from poor kid's house to poor kid's house
and
waiting for waiting for his chores to be done.
Right.
My laundry's done. Did he bring his laundry with him?
Yeah. Well, you got a fucking sack of laundry over your shoulder?
How you doing? Nah, y'all, I'm just going to stay. I just take it everywhere with me just so I feel better that way. Oh, it's done? Cool.
That was nice.
Did he mean off his back? Did they strip him in his sleep and he woke up with him folded naked with his clothes folded neatly at the end of the bed? What the fuck happened here? And his car's washed? What are they washing? Wash your own fucking car. Good God. He even does a commercial for this. And it's not like, hey, you want your car washed and your laundry done? That's what I would think.
What does he do in a commercial for?
It's amazing.
What exactly is the product, though?
The product is child slave labor. It's wonderful. No, product is to help the kids and have them do your shit. He does a commercial that I found on YouTube that's a PSA where he is walking around the projects and he's just like, I'm Anthony Smith, and they say Anthony Smith, LA Raiders, and he looks like he's all tough and there's little kids running around in the background, and he says, quote, "You can't change the world, but you can change the life of one kid. Become a mentor at the Los Angeles City Housing Projects."
And then he throws
That's his commercial.
Throws a 20 at the kid shining his shoes.
He does. Now shine my shit. And the camera cuts out as he's going, "Hey, motherfucker, there's some dirt on the hood." And then it cuts out. That's it right there.
You missed a spot.
Hey, where are my fucking drawers at? They was in my laundry bag. So, can't change the world. It's a 10-second PSA with him walking across the project thing and then stopping and going, do this. I don't know if this is still active, and I doubt it is. But if it is, give it a shot. 213-237-0855 is the number to call.
That's to donate 37 cents a day.
To be a mentor at the Los Angeles City Housing Project. So,
unbelievable.
And they're still probably waiting, I'm sure, over there for people to sign up.
Any day now.
Any day now. So 1991, he plays on the LA Raiders. Jesus Christ, this was just a mess of a team. I remember these teams. The Jay Schrader, Todd Marinovich era. No. Todd Marinovich was and Schrader went back and forth. Yeah. People have asked me, where's the Marinovich episode? It's coming. Yeah. It's weird the way things have worked out. It's like, well, this kind of case came before this, so it's strange. It'll be there. Trust me. We'll cover everybody because
there's a lot to go still.
Yeah, there's a bunch, and in the end, we're going to go until there's no more left, so we're going to have to cover everybody. Right. So if it's happened, we'll cover it. Don't worry. Just in whatever order we get to it. Todd Marinovich, Marcus Allen was there trying to get off the fucking team and get onto the Chiefs for later on. Tim Brown was the wide receiver.
Great receiver,
too. They had a couple of really good players.
That's depressing.
Tim Brown was one of those just speedster. Al Davis looked at like numbers, like he looked at your 40 time and shit like that. That guy's a first round draft pick because he's a 4.2 40. It's like, well, can he catch a football?
Who gives a shit?
Who cares? He's big and he plays the line. I like him.
Hopefully.
So they go 9-7 that year under Coach Art Shell. They go to the wild card game and they lose to Kansas City 10-6, which sounds like a real barn burner.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
fucking defensive fury.
10-6 in Kansas City, 1990. What's that? Steve DeBerg. Steve DeBerg quarterbacking that, I believe.
Probably.
Jesus,
I don't remember.
Christ. Steve DeBerg and Stephon Page and Duron Cherry. Those are the only Christian Okoye was the running back, and Barry Word was in there, and Neil Smith and on the line. And
this would have been if they made the wild
Derek
card.
Thomas came along in 1990.
It's a defensive struggle for them for sure.
But Schottenheimer will find a way to lose in the playoffs.
He always does.
He always does.
But they're going into KC in January or February.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's tough.
Miserable.
Yeah, it's tough there. That's a tough place to play. But Anthony plays in all 16 games this year. Only starts 2. 1 fumble recovery and 10.5 sacks.
That's awful.
So 10.5 sacks is great.
Sacks, not
tackles. 10.5 sacks, which is fucking amazing for a defensive lineman this is his first year playing.
Yeah.
Fuck, they were thrilled with that probably. Holy shit. 92 Raiders. He plays in 15 games, starts 1, has 6 forced fumbles.
Jesus.
6. That's a lot of forced fumbles. Yeah. He figured out how to pop that fucking ball out. Has 31 tackles, and then most impressively 13 sacks.
My God.
For a lineman who's not that's really good.
I feel like the record is like 20.
The record's like 24.
Is it that high?
Yeah, Michael Strahan broke it when Brett Favre kind of took a dive for him there.
Yeah.
Before that, it was. Yeah,
I mean, Brett Favre has a lot of shit records.
Yeah.
Was it interceptions?
Was it Gastineau before that? I believe.
I don't know.
Had a bunch, and there was a few.
Sacks are usually.
Bruce Smith was up there with like a 21.5 season, I believe.
Really?
I think so. I know LT had like 20.5 and 86.
That's what I thought it was somewhere around there.
It's up. It was above that because 20. It was like 23, and it was broken with 23.5 or whatever the fuck it was. It doesn't matter.
Either way, it's the linemen that are getting the bulk of them because they're breaking down the.
Or at that point, you're LT, Derek Thomas, outside linebacker, pass rusher. But it was mainly ends: Reggie White, Derek Thomas, or Reggie White, Bruce Smith. Those are the guys. The linemen are the interior linemen most of the time are clogging up the run and shit like that. But Anthony is Week 7 AFC Defensive Player of the Week.
Amazing.
Which is good. 13 sacks. Great year. Not for the team, though. They go 7-9 under Art Shell, and that's not terrific.
No.
This is the time he's talking to a reporter, and remember all those stories about running around in New York and killing his friend, and his people dying of drug overdoses at 8 and being killed in car accidents and all this crazy shit.
About all this.
All that stuff. He now says none of that shit happened.
Well, of course not.
None of that happened. And they were like, well, why the fuck did you tell us that? And he was just, and when asked, why did you lie to us for no reason, not even being prompted? No one said, hey, didn't you grow up in New York and kill your 8-year-old friend in a car accident? No one said that to him. He just made it up. He says, instead of actually answering the question, he says, quote, I'm doing things that are positive, and if you guys can't deal with that, I'm sorry. I don't want to have my name be connected with things that aren't productive. You connected it with your stupid story. No, they didn't make that shit up. You did.
I wish he would have just been like, why did I say it? How about, why'd you believe it?
Yeah, why didn't you fucking look into that? Right. Did you even look up 8-year-old deaths and 8-year-old drivers in deadly car accidents? Did you look that up, maybe? Possibly. That could have been a thing. You could have solved it right there.
Did you look up any sort of public record of me being a child in a fucking heroin clinic? Anything.
Anything like that?
Anything
totally hooked on fucking every drug on earth. By the time I'm in the 4th grade, to check that out.
No. Doing speedballs at 8 and boosting cars.
Which is easy because they don't suspect that in the 5th grade. No. They'll let you go to the bathroom as many times as you want.
That's a good
point. They're just like, he must just have to pee. He had a lot of Sunny D this morning. Yeah. That's all it was. Now, 93 season, week 1, he is the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So, hey, good for you. AFC Defensive Player of the Week, not bad. And week 1, and then he's the September AFC Defensive Player of the Month.
Wow.
For September. So, Jesus Christ, great job by Anthony. Again, a solid year. He plays, it's weird, they don't start him all the time. This is his 3rd year. He plays in all 16 games, only starts 2. Which is crazy. He must be a guy who like comes in right away.
Package.
It has to be right away because he ends up with 52 tackles.
That's a good point.
Which is a lot for a defensive lineman. 52 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 12.5 sacks. To get 12.5 sacks, you got to be playing. You can't come in on 3rd down and end up with 12.5 sacks over the course of the year.
But are they starting like a specific package of like nickel and he's not in that?
I don't know.
They right away flip into something else.
I'm thinking if there was like an old guy they started to be ceremonial. I don't know what the fuck it is. Howie Long was on the team. Was he washed up at that point? I have no idea. But it's 12.5 sacks are good for 7th in the NFL too.
That's incredible.
So it's not. But he's doing. I mean, he's in the top tier of what he does. And the team goes 10-6 that year. Holy shit!
That's tough to do.
That's not bad at all. They go 10-6 and they go to the wild card game versus the Broncos.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, with what?
Going 10-6 and then having to be a wild card.
And then you're a wild card. Well, that should kind of be it. You should be 11-5 or better to win the division. 10-6 is a wild card. That's how it kind of used to be before. Now 8-8 gets you in half the time.
That's bullshit.
But they go to play the Broncos, and this was dark times for the Broncos. This was right before Dan Reeves gets shit canned, and then goes and coaches the Giants horribly. Which was a disaster.
Then he wanders into Atlanta.
And he wanders down to Atlanta and makes them sort of mediocre for a while.
Gets into a Super Bowl where Shanahan
and they lose. So
beats the lights out of them.
That's Dan Reeves for you. And the Denver Broncos here lose 42-24, which is probably the last fucking straw for Dan Reeves to go. You get blown out by the Raiders in the playoffs. You're fucking gone.
Should comb over the fuck out of here.
That's when Elway was having a bad time too. He had like 3-4 dark years there where he wasn't great.
Where he'd scramble and run like and then throw an unbelievably stupid pass for no reason at all.
Wasn't this when they drafted Tommy Maddox as his backup and people were like, hey, Tommy Maddox might be good, and then he went on to be an XFL MVP, so that tells you a lot there.
After fucking losing his mind in Pittsburgh. Was he the one that was replaced by Slash in Pittsburgh?
Oh,
Maddox?
No, that was before. Maddox came after the USFL folded, and then they kind of went back and forth. And
who did Slash the fucking
Bubby Brister?
Cordell Stewart. Did he replace Neil O'Donnell?
Dude,
he may have replaced Beaverface.
That fucking cabal of late 90s quarterbacks were ugly. But no, Cordell was earlier because Cordell came out of Colorado in the 90s. It was like 92 because they were like half national champions when he was quarterback for 1 year. Yeah, 91 or 92 or some shit like that.
Was Cordell Stewart there when they went to the Super Bowl?
Which year?
When they made a run at the Super Bowl, I mean, when Miami made the Super Bowl, right?
No, Cordell was there when they used to lose in the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
against you remember that in the late 90s with Bill Cowher looking angry on the sidelines.
Yeah, I see him playing Miami and losing. I don't know why I see that. It's possible.
They're both
Who fucking
awful.
knows?
Who cares? So.
Jesus. Well, anyway. I'm trying to remember football history. Don't do
that. You're confusing
don't do
me.
This.
I'm like, I don't know. What year now? What are we
doing?
So they end up losing to the Bills in the playoffs, who would then go on to be slaughtered in the Super Bowl, obviously, by the Cowboys. This is the last year of their 4 straight poundings. Yeah, 90, 91, 92, 93. Where the Cowboys beat the living shit out of them this year again, and then they faded into obscurity. That's nice there. 94 season, right before the 94 season, the Raiders say, all right, we have something in this guy. Yeah. He's a free agent. His rookie contract is up. hey, this guy's had over 12 sacks every year.
Killing it.
I don't know. You have to re-sign this guy. So they do. They give him a 4-year, $7.6 million contract.
And that was big then.
That was big in 94 for a defensive lineman who wasn't Reggie White or Bruce Smith. Like, that was a big fucking deal. Big deal. This is the Raiders' last season in Los Angeles, right before they moved back to Oakland. Jeff Hostetler is the quarterback that they took from the Giants at the end of his career. And he wasn't great for the Raiders at all. He was awful. He did have that one good run in 90. We'll give him that for the Giants here. This time he starts all 16 games, Anthony does. Has 34 tackles, 1 fumble recovery return for a touchdown. Okay. So this fat fuck, ran in there with the ball over his head all excited. Good for him. And 6 sacks this year. Okay. So not bad. Not a bad. Sacks are fleeting. Yeah. They can be... There's such a hair of a difference between a sack and they got the ball off or there was a penalty or some shit like that. Yeah. So 6 and 12, there's sacks. There's a lot of times not a lot to difference between them.
And then you were allowed to hit the quarterback a couple of steps after.
Yeah, you'd have 2 steps and then you could drop his ass. Now you have to politely ask him,
will you please sit down?
If you're not ready to throw the ball, sir, I'd like you to have a seat and can I get you anything? I believe that's the protocol to sack a quarterback now. You have to ask, can I get you anything? It's like having a house guest. So fucking ridiculous. So they go 9-7 again this year. Art Shell is just as mediocre as it comes. 9-7, 9-7, 10-6, 9-7. Fucking boring as shit. But for they don't go to the playoffs. That's not good for a playoff berth this year. Now Anthony Smith has plenty of cash. Okay. Now he's starting to live a little bit of a different lifestyle. He goes from being kind of a conservative, quiet guy to a guy that's getting a little more flashy, has a little more confidence in what he has. Just financial security, basically.
Damn near $2 million a year.
Yeah, his rookie season back then too. I don't know if he's throwing around cash. Maybe he saved a little. Who the fuck knows? But now he buys
not on fucking car washes and laundry detergent.
No, he's definitely he's saving cash there. That's what he was doing. He's like, I'm saving my money. You never know. I could get hurt any day now. He starts buying other people things too. He buys his brother Donald a new Corvette every year.
Asshole.
Every year. Why? You don't need. First of all, Corvette's the most overpriced pile of shit there is. And second of all, what are you doing? Why are you buying him a new one every year?
There are cheaper ways to tell people you are an asshole.
Yeah.
Stupid.
I care for you when you're an asshole. Yeah. Those are the two things.
Stupid fucking car.
Yeah. He bought several houses for himself. This is what I mean. Several houses. Now we all have to have tons of houses, including one. It's in. It overlooks the Pacific in Playa del Rey, a 5-bedroom white brick palace. It's called.
Oh boy!
So on a hill. So
that's a few mil.
That's going to be about in 1990.
Now it is.
Now it is. 94. It wasn't,
probably,
but still,
at least a mil.
Yeah, at least a mil. And then he's also it's a big house, and it's different here. It's weird too. He starts to get a little bit. Become like a more angry guy nowadays. Now, I don't know. The other thing, too, is nowadays we have to think about, we don't know what the fuck is happening in his brain, too. He's a defensive lineman. He's hitting heads with somebody on every single fucking play.
Every play.
So we don't know what's going on in his brain, but people... he's been a little bit weird here, and he starts getting angry at other people. He tells an LA Times reporter, quote, "The way I've seen people react to me, Anthony Smith, the Raider, has been sickening." He says, he starts talking about how he complains about women who only want his money. And he turns into like a 1995 rapper all of a sudden. He's like, I got all this Versace and bitches just want to take it. Like, that's what he just turns into all of a sudden. I don't know what the fuck his deal is.
This is like the heyday of that's why you got into this, bro.
That's what I mean, yeah. But he's of the everybody just want to take my shit type thing here. He complains about, women. He says friends who always need money from him and have their hands out. Yeah. He says, quote, a running back on his team said, quote, "He used to talk about his family asking for $30,000 like it was $300. Anthony always said he didn't want to be broke after football. He'd say, when I'm done, I want to be able to relax and chill for the rest of my life."
Yeah,
well,
that's a good goal.
We all want to do that, I think, when you're done.
I'd love to have one job for 5 years and never have another job.
Yeah, that'd be great, especially if I was limping always and shit like that. That would be,
I can't spell my own name.
Yeah, that's super fucking weird. He runs into a woman at this point.
Okay.
Now he meets a woman, and this is a woman that he might have been into when he was younger, like a teenager, because this woman used to be she's a former pop star type deal.
Okay.
Her name was Vanity, was her singing name back in the day. She was in a girl group we'll get to in a second that had a song in a Beverly Hills Cop movie. So,
Jesus, really?
Yeah. So this is an actual person. Her name's Denise Matthews. She is at this point a born again Christian singing Christian music.
Yuck.
Okay. She reads an art. You know what I'm saying? She's one of that. Her song, we'll just say it now. She had a song. It was called Vanity 6 was the name of the group, and they had a song. Their song, "Nasty Girl," was in the strip club scene in Beverly Hills Cop 1. Philip, what you doing with all this gun? What you doing with all this gun? That's my favorite line. What you doing with all this gun, man?
Philip.
You changed, Philip. Phil. So yeah, that's
a
song.
Great scene.
That's that song in the background. That's her singing it. So I've heard this song. I've heard this woman approximately 7,000 times over my childhood, because that was a video that my mother never returned to the video store. So we just kept it, and that was one of the few videos I had, so I watched it
It's a great
repeatedly.
scene, though. That's
the whole movie.
Yeah, it might be the best scene in that whole movie,
It's
though.
so funny.
It's so hilarious.
Yeah, I love the look on his face. What you doing with all this gun, man?
I love that you changed, Ben. That's so good.
You changed,
He's
man.
so funny.
He was amazing back then. So I love that. The foul-mouthed one, not the pudding pop eating cunt. So amazing. He turned out to be fine. He's not raping anybody.
Crazy?
Not raping anybody, because he got it all out with cursing. See, he didn't have it all pent up inside. He wasn't shining.
Right.
Bill Cosby's the ultimate shining.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way of shining.
Meanwhile, Eddie Murphy is such a gentleman. He's got all these baby mamas, and he pays for all of it.
He pays for all of them.
He's a gentleman.
That's right.
What a guy.
Nice
Even
man.
knocked up another girl,
Yeah.
and he's going to fucking name it Junior.
Oh, you know he is.
He's naming this one Junior.
That's all right.
Fucking Eddie.
Yeah, come on, Eddie. You're dooming this child.
Not now, Eddie. You've done great.
This wife here, Denise Katrina Matthews, was Vanity, like we said. She's Canadian originally, a dancer, model, actress, singer, the 80s pop star person. She ended up in the late 80s turning her career to the evangelical things like that. 1983, the Vanity 6 group disbanded. And 1980, she was in she was in a lot of B movies, Terror Train, Tanya's Island. And then she meets, she's going out with Rick James.
Oh my God.
She's been out with Rick James.
Yeah.
So the horrible things have happened to her, I'm sure.
She met Rick James through Eddie Murphy. I'm certain of it. Right? Because of the Chappelle stories? It's got to be through that.
We don't know. Well, no, she's in music herself, so it would make sense for her to run into Rick James at a thing or a studio or something other than, because Rick James seems like the type of guy who would look for girl groups to produce so he could fuck them all.
But I guess her song was in it. She had probably never even met Eddie.
No, yeah, that was just, and that was in 84 too. So I guess that was a couple years later.
I want so bad for Eddie to have created
that. Would be great. It's probably
fantastic.
the opposite. It's probably Eddie would have met her through Rick James, if we're being honest here.
It's probably true.
But she went with Rick James as his date to the American Music Awards in 1982.
Holy
this
shit.
Vanity, and there she meets Prince. Okay, now Prince, yeah. This is fucking weird.
Awesome.
We normally don't have Prince and Rick James in our stories, but Prince takes to her.
Yeah.
Prince is taken with this chick and is into her, and he renames her Vanity, and he says he considers her to be the female form of himself. Is what he says. Like
what is going on?
He totally digs this. Then he learned that she could sing, so he asked her to become the lead singer of a group called Vanity 6. They record one album, and that was the Nasty Girl album. There was that's how that all came out. Then she left the group and left Prince because he was probably weird. She ends up signing with Motown Records,
where he dunked on her and served her pancakes.
Yeah, and she was like, "Shit, I can't be with him anymore." He's just embarrassed the fuck out of me. She signs with Motown, has some singles there, but then ends up being a Christian act. She's in The Last Dragon, the movie.
Really?
Yeah, she's in the Last Dragon. She's in Never Too Young to Die, opposite John Stamos.
What?
Gene Simmons was also in it for some reason.
I'm gonna watch The Last Dragon now and wonder where she's at in that.
You've
seen that, right?
God,
it's such a good
80s.
movie.
Yeah, not since the 80s.
I love it.
Yeah, she was in 52 Pickup, which was, I believe, like an action thriller type, whatever. Action Jackson with Carl Weathers.
Oh my God.
She was in that, which she was actually like the starring female role. Also in that movie, Craig T. Nelson and Sharon Stone in Action Jackson.
They've done well for themselves.
Yeah, done pretty well. She's in a bunch of TV shows here and there. Also did Playboy in 1988, being nude. Yes, she was hanging out with Prince and all that kind of shit. 92, she becomes a born-again Christian, and she says that she wouldn't take any more sexualized roles, and she was going to sing different shit. She was in Highlander, the series, which was interesting. 93, she was hospitalized for 3 months for near fatal kidney failure from her previous drug use.
My Christ.
Yeah, she was very much into. She hung out with Rick James for Christ's sake. She lived she lived the deal. She said the doctor said she almost died. She was on life support, and she said while she was in the hospital on life support, Jesus appeared to her and spoke to her and saying that if she promised to abandon her vanity persona, he would save her. Otherwise, fuck you. Eat shit. Eat your tapioca pudding tonight and then croak in your sleep, bitch. That's what he would have said at that point.
And she chose to go follow the guy that said that shit to her. If you don't abandon that, you're fucking dead.
You're fucking dead.
I'm in.
Listen, you're dead. He was threatening her. He's like a longshoreman.
Right.
He's very...
And she's like, I'm in? Really?
You don't move that fucking car out of my spot. She said she recovered and fully ended her performing career and devoted herself to being a born-again Christian. She said in 1995, quote, "When I came to Lord Jesus Christ, I threw out about 1,000 tapes of mine. Interview, every tape, every video, everything." She didn't want to. Also, she said she's chosen not to receive any further revenue or royalties for her work as Vanity and cut off all ties with her former life. And then she got a kidney transplant in 1997 and was even more Christy. And she ends up with an autobiography called Blame It on Vanity, Hollywood, Heaven, and Hell.
My Christ.
So, we'll talk about that's enough of her.
So when she cuts off...
But I had to give you, this is what I mean. This is how much life has changed. Elizabeth, now this chick went out with Prince.
Right.
Like, this is a completely different life for him. He's playing probably a little ahead of his speed, I believe.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion.
My favorite part is that she cuts off all royalties. Does that just go to your agent? Where does that go?
I don't know.
Say, donate it? What do you do with that?
Maybe probably to church.
Or is I'm sure her agent was like, yeah, I'll donate it. Don't worry.
Funnel it to church, I guess, so they can fucking...
I'll bet she did that.
Evade taxes on it. So, yeah, I know. So, 3 days, they meet. They're not together too long. 1 month after they meet, they end up getting married. Married. Yeah, married. 3 days after they meet, she proposed to him, and then they get married.
Christ-like.
No, 3 days, she proposes to him. She read an article, wanted to meet this guy. I picked him out of a magazine, met him, asked him to marry her in 3 days, and then in a month they're married, which is fucking insane. He also married somebody for like a month a few years earlier. When he first moved to L.A., he married some actress very quickly, but it didn't last.
Weird.
Strange, right? But this one here, a friend of his says that it was very, 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 very strange. He says that this friend says that he's very possessive of her.
Well, yeah.
Which I guess I can understand. That he seems to be that kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he's very possessive of Denise / Vanity, I guess. So a friend of Anthony's remembers him being super possessive over her. One time he remembers what he called an uncomfortable team family breakfast before a Raiders game, where they had like a family and team breakfast, where apparently he said Denise did or said something that made Anthony super pissed off. And he says, quote, "He grabbed her by the arm, made her sit down," which is fucking strange. "She tried to get up, but he snatched her back down, said, 'Get down.' I was really scared for Vanity. I thought he was going to break her friggin' arm." So that's not good.
No.
I don't think that's what you're going for exactly in a relationship. So he's being a possessive
asshole. But meanwhile, the friend is back to calling her vanity.
That's true. Yeah, I think she's never going to be Denise. She's just vanity.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, she's been with fucking Rick James. Yeah. So she's probably, I mean, who knows what her life is? She probably seeks out abusers, I assume, because that's what, she's probably been abused as a kid and everything else or whatever the fuck. So yeah, she found this guy in an article and could see the abuse jumping off the page at her, which is fucking sad. But Smith would tell everybody that at the time, though, he was helping Denise get a kidney. He would tell all of his friends he's helping her get a kidney and all that sort of thing. And he's such a good guy because he's just trying to get her back to health. And she's older than him too, significantly. Like
he's mentoring an adult.
Yeah, which is weird. He's trying to, she said he's just such a good guy. He just goes around telling everyone what a good guy he is, which is a red flag immediately. Obviously, he's just shining. That's all.
He's outshining himself.
He's outshining himself. Yeah, but then he's grabbing her in a team meeting or a team breakfast. That's going to be a dead giveaway at that point. I think you're gonna. I don't know. But Oakland here the next year they moved to Oakland in '95. The Raiders do with. Billy Joe Hobart is the backup quarterback. You remember that Billy Joe period where there's Billy Joe Tolliver and Billy Joe Hobart in the NFL. The league had two Billy Joes being paid to be professional quarterbacks at one point.
Neither of them were gingers, right?
No, I don't think so. They're just little rednecks.
I can see Billy Joe Tolbert. I can see him.
Billy Joe Hobart and Billy Joe Tolliver was the
Tolliver.
Other one.
That's the one I see. Was Tolliver Saints?
San Diego.
Was Hobart San Diego?
Yeah, these guys, the Billy Joes bounced around quite a bit. The Billy Joes. They're going to be. There was Saints. There was Chargers. There was Falcons mixed in there. There's a lot of this.
Tolbert was over in the Falcons.
Hobart, I believe, was a Falcon. Yeah.
God damn, I'm mixing them both together.
That's fine.
I'm going to continue it.
Their own mothers would at this point. I don't think it matters. They had the same age, and he's like, I'm looking for a contract for Billy Joe Tolbert. And they're like, oh,
perfect.
Either one. It's
I'm your
fine.
Guy.
We don't care. They're the same thing. So that year, he starts 12 games. He plays in all 16, has 28 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, and 7 sacks.
That's not awful.
Not a bad year at all. They're very happy with that. That's 100% fine. This is under Coach Mike White, who would later also take the Falcons to mediocrity, to the brink of fucking decency.
That's a strange-looking man.
It is. He's very white. He's a white hair, white. Mike White's the perfect name for him. He's a very odd guy, Mike White.
He looks like a pigeon. Like his face
he kind of does
he looks like a bird.
He is a little birdie. I'll give you that. Yeah. Well, they go 8-8 this year, so he pecks his way to an 8-8 season with his new team here. Offensive coordinator that year is Joe Bugle, the old Cardinal head coach, and then defensive coordinator is John Fox, the future head coach, and all that shit. So anyway, 1996 here. This is the Raiders had just relocated to Oakland, obviously. Smith it's funny. Once he got that big contract, he just doesn't have as much desire to play and to try hard anymore. Weird. It's so strange that when you get a lot of money, you're like, I don't feel like banging my head into another guy all the time because I'm super rich.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm too rich to bang my head into that guy. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Do that to the people that aren't being paid.
Yeah, they'll do it. I'm sure they want to get the money I have. So he started becoming not as into it and it was noticeable to the team. At one point, he fails to show up at the airport for the 5th game of the season in the 96 season.
He just didn't go.
Doesn't show up for the team flight. They're like, okay, so he's suspended for a month because that's what happens. You, Jesus Christ, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You have to show up for 16 things a year that are really important, and you miss one of them. You can't do that.
At the most, 19 things.
No, that's if you win the Super Bowl or make it to the Super Bowl. You can't no call, no show. That shit, it just doesn't work. Be like, I'll take PTO. It's cool. There's very little time. So he's suspended for a month there.
This is the era of football. I see just the ugliest starter jackets ever. Remember those?
Puffy.
This
is when they got
puffiest.
But they were like plainer in the early 90s. They just have a logo. This is when they started getting like crazy weird like shark tooth things, like bespeckled shark tooth shit coming up the sleeves, and like this is when
some
shit
weird
pattern
getting behind the logo.
All sorts of weird patterns, and it looked like Cosby sweater patterns like on it. Weirdest fucking this is when
they were started
hats too. Hats got real weird and ugly. It was like, what the fuck happened to the plain the the block letter city and the script, the fucking
what happened to the cursive?
Yeah, the sports specialties hats that are the best.
Those were great hats.
Those are the greatest hats ever, and they actually kind of come back. Those hats.
They're trying.
They're trying it too. But
they're still going a bit too far with the fucking graphic on the
it's
bill.
Too much. Yeah, I don't need all of that
bill.
shit.
Fucking
it's too much.
stop it.
Calm down.
Go back to green under the bill.
So this was that time period, and he comes back now, and he's not taking in real. His teammates are kind of pissed off at him because you kind of just walked out on your team. You didn't show up, and then you're suspended for a month. So then you're
one of our best linemen.
Yeah, and now you're a starter, and you're going to just not show up for a month. I mean, that's the 4 games he didn't start that year. So that's crazy. He or that was the last year. I'm sorry, but either way, Howie Long, the cop-haired defensive lineman for the Raiders, said that Smith, quote, had some volatility, is the way he put it. He said, quote, as talented as he was a very emotionally complex young guy.
I'd love to talk to Howie about that for real.
Yeah. Let's talk about how emotionally, what does that mean, emotionally complex? He's a fucking loon. That's what that means, emotionally complex. It's not wonderful here. 96 season, 6 games, only starts 2. 12 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 sacks. So obviously a little less. He's suspended. Falls off, doesn't do well. The Raiders go 7-9. They fucking stink too. 97 season. This is actually, I remember this team very well because if you got PlayStation 1 and Game Day 97, which was a fucking amazing game, this was the Raider team from them. That was a terrible team, as we'll talk about their record, but in a video game, they were phenomenal. This was Jeff George at quarterback.
So the video game figure that they underachieved massively.
It's true. Well, their quarterback's Jeff George, who, as a video game character, is great. If you look at arm strength and accuracy and all those things, he's great. It doesn't show that he's an asshole that nobody likes and is a terrible leader. That doesn't show up on a Nintendo, on a fucking PlayStation game. It just doesn't. So you could be great in there and be a douchebag on the field. Right. And that's what it was. Napoleon Kaufman, you remember the little running back? Yeah. So great team there for them. He plays in 13 games, starts all 13 games in 97, 33 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 6.5 sacks, and 1 safety. So he's back to being respectable and decent again. The team goes 4-12 that year. So they were not good.
And Tim Brown still has 19 years left in his career.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, he's still going to be there forever.
Jesus.
Offensive coordinator on that team, Ray Perkins.
No kidding.
His Alabama coach. Yeah.
How about that?
So, hey, Dad, how you doing? Haven't seen you in about 10 fucking years.
Welcome back.
Thanks, Dad, for recruiting me here.
My girlfriend loves Jesus, and she knew Prince.
Yeah, and she blew Prince. Never mind, knew Prince. My girlfriend liked Jesus and fucked Rick James and did so many drugs her kidney fell out. So I got a lot of things going on, Dad. You want to talk? What's up?
Thanks for being around all these years.
Thanks. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So after his contract's up after this season. There's an option for an extra year. His option, Anthony's option. He opts out of his contract. So he opts out of the deal.
He figures he can go somewhere else and make more.
I guess so. That's the plan here. Now, that year, 97, he's married to Denise, or Vanity, whatever you want to call her here. We'll call her Denise. She wants to be called Denise. Man wants to be called Muhammad Ali. We should call him Muhammad Ali. Does Mama call him Clay? I'm going to call him Clay. So,
the barbershop was so great.
We're just on an Eddie Murphy kick tonight. I'm sorry.
It's the best sidebar of any movie ever.
Oh, it's amazing. It has nothing to do with the movie. Nothing. It's amazing. I love it so much. Great. It's just Eddie Murphy and like 2 other guys and Arsenio sitting there too. Right. It's wonderful.
And Eddie Murphy just lying out of his ass to his coworkers.
That's about everything. Great. Yeah, it's about everything. Yeah. And also being an old Jewish man, I believe, too. There's a couple different things. Which is interesting. So Anthony and Denise are done here. They're out. They separate in 1997. Shortly after, there's a reason why they separated and why they're done. Anthony's arrested for domestic violence.
Yeah, he was shining on her.
Well, if you're married, there's only one thing worse than getting arrested. There's only one thing worse to your wife than getting arrested for domestic violence, and that's getting arrested for domestic violence involving a different woman than you.
Oh, no way. way.
So not only was he cheating on her, but then he's beating her up also. So that's that's a double whammy right there.
He's beating up the girlfriend?
He's beating up the girl he's cheating on his wife with, which is next level fucking asshole. That's next level. He's sentenced to anger management classes for that, and that's all. That's all he gets. That's it. It's 97. So they're not as up on that shit where it's like, hey, I don't know, give him some probation or something. But
and it's 97 NFL where they got rid of a lot of charges.
Oh yeah, swept that shit right under the rug here. And he went into court. He was like, listen, she was with Rick James, and they were like, say no more. I'm sure she was on something, and they made her look bad. Meanwhile, she's a poor woman who needs a kidney and getting beat up by her asshole husband. So now he starts a relationship at this point in early 98 with what will become his third wife, who is Teresa Obello, who becomes Teresa Obello White. She's a completely different thing. He's married an actress that didn't last long, just some actress that he found. It was probably just hot and he had some money and they got married. Right. And then he marries this, Vanity, who's just a different, she's got a life she has a lot of life.
She's interesting.
She's an interesting person, there's a lot. This time he manages, but I mean, she was like in music and, hanging out with Prince and shit. This woman here that he marries is a graduate of Stanford.
Oh my God.
Different kind of lady. Stanford, and then went on to Pepperdine Law School.
How did he meet her?
Which is, she's rich. Yeah. Rich people go in the same circles. She was at this point when they met, she's an attorney. She's working for a personal injury law firm when they met. Later on, she's going to become like a major prosecutor, which is interesting, as we'll find out what he does.
Personal injury, like
she's a person. Yeah,
what a girl suffered because of him.
Girls come to him all the time. Come to her. Women come to her all the time with injuries caused by people like him. I believe car accidents and more, which she was into. By the way, I saw the worst billboard for a personal injury lawyer yesterday, and I just remembered it.
Tell me it, because I got one here too.
It's just a guy's picture, and it says, "Your injury is personal to me." And I'm like, oh, fuck you. Your injury is personal to nothing to do with the money, huh, pal?
Is it the Raffi law firm?
I have no idea.
Because there's a guy here.
That guy is the worst.
It's in Spanish, and it just says, "Have you been in an accident?" And then there's just a dude laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
It's like, what
like
the
he's psyched
fuck?
about it.
Have you been in an accident? Because we want to see the video.
We want to see it. We think it's hilarious. We can make it go viral. We're not going to make you money on a lawsuit against the insurance company. We're going to get you some ad money on a viral video on YouTube. That's what we're going to do.
Awful fucking advertisement.
Ridiculous. Jesus Christ. So she's doing that. He tells everybody around him, friends, family, that this woman he thinks would make a wonderful mother, and he wants her to have his children, and this is the one for him. And I am going to, spoiler alert, it is the one for him. They were together they were going on, for years. We'll get into it.
Okay.
She sticks by him, this one. I don't know what the fuck hold he has over this otherwise well put together, intelligent, bright, fucking successful, ambitious woman, but I don't know what the fuck it is. He brings her to Elizabeth, North Carolina, and introduced her to the family, which she must have been like, whoa, hey, I went to Stanford and Pepperdine, and I'm not going to rural North Carolina, thank you. But she wasn't. She was cool about it. So his friend Brian from back there that we talked about, quote Brian, says, she was back there. There was a 4th of July barbecue where there was a little bit of a problem, though, while she was back there with him. There was a confrontation between Anthony and his older brother, Donald. Apparently, Donald became threatening at that point to both of them, threatening enough that he and Teresa left and went right to the airport. So he takes his girl and gets the fuck out of there.
We've been here.
His brother's getting crazy. He got drunk at the barbecue. I don't know what the hell's going on here. But Anthony and Donald, that was the end of their relationship.
No more.
The friend said they never talked ever again.
Wow.
He said that, quote, Anthony felt abandoned, and that's his biggest issue.
Donald, give us a call. I want to hear that story.
I'd love to hear that story.
Boy.
Donald's an interesting cat. Like we said, then remember we talked about he became like a UPS driver and like a cop and a magistrate or some crazy.
Hard hard-working son of a bitch.
Yeah, hard-working guy that's got a lot of anger and shines in public, and then wants to fight his younger brother at a barbecue for some reason. His wife here, future wife Teresa, becomes a San Bernardino County prosecutor later on. So, I mean, she's not a flaky person or anything like that. Not who you'd expect him to go with, because he seems like kind of an asshole. 98th season, he signs with the Broncos.
Really?
Signs with Denver. But he didn't like it. And while at training camp in Denver, he gets to mid-August, and he calls his personal assistant on the phone and says, quote, "Get the Hummer and come get me."
You idiot.
Yeah.
They're about to win the fucking Super Bowl, you dipshit.
You dummy. At least you would have got a bonus for that. And,
and a ring.
And a ring, and you probably would. You're on a Super Bowl team, so then you would have got signed for another 2 years somewhere else just for being around success. Instead, he says, "Get the Hummer and come get me." He said he didn't want to play football anymore. He's fucking done. But what he does do is stop in Vegas and get married. Because, as we know, over time, the crime and sports rules, when things are going bad, you've just quit your career on a whim. You've turned money away, thrown it out the window, quit everything, drove your Hummer away from your career and a potential Super Bowl win. You need to get married right fucking then. It's the only thing to do. So he is working it. He brought her home. He's getting married. A lot of problems.
Unbelievable.
I would say so. So now he's 31 years old, and he's retired from football.
There's so many stories that are personal that are not going to be on the internet anywhere that I want to fucking know.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
This man is fascinating.
He is fascinating. That's the thing. And he closes up like a fucking clam. You never get shit out of him. He's just this stoic, like, gangster character.
God damn it.
Where he just doesn't say shit, and it's hard to get anything out of him.
Why'd you fight your brother? Why'd you quit the NFL? How the fuck did you meet Vanity?
Let me tell you one thing. You will forget any of that happened in a few minutes when I tell you the other things, and you go, how the fuck did you do that? That was horrific. My God. You're just going to be shocked to the point where, none of that other shit matters here. I'm telling you that right now. But he said he's married. He's happy with that. He wants to be a father. He's all ready to go. He has bad knees, and he's a little bit injured and banged up because he played football, but he's ready to start his life. And he gets her pregnant. He gets his wife pregnant. He retires from football, gets into some interesting things, gets into some shady businesses.
Sure.
A lot of these football players, and they talk about this in the Broke documentary, and it's true too. Football, basketball, every sport, baseball, it doesn't matter. Guys with a lot of money like this, when they retire, they're 31 years old, and all of their excitement's gone that they've had. So for them to invest in something that's safe and smart and has like a 4% return if they're lucky and all that, that's how you want to invest smartly. Right. But for them, that's boring. That's not exciting. No. They need a win. They need to do something.
There's no crowd.
They need a big thing, something that's going to be a big win for them. And that's what they do, is they always keep going. They have confidence in themselves because they're, as an athlete, you have to, as a top level athlete that has millions of dollars to piss away, you have to have that kind of confidence in themselves. So they always have the confidence in themselves that they're going to dig themselves out of it with a big score here. Yeah. They turn into like gamblers with their money after their careers. And so he invests in an online medical billing company that turns out to be a scam that is investigated by the FTC. Oh my God! So that's a problem. Yeah. And so that's like what mobsters would do. Yeah. And then he starts spending. This is insane. This is what I don't get. He marries this woman who's like a very upstanding woman and all this type of shit. And instead of staying home with her, he's not out playing football anymore. So he's got no excuse to be like out doing shit. Stay home with this woman, have a nice life. You have a woman that you're lucky to have. Instead, he starts hanging out with gangbangers all the time. He gets a bunch of like gangster friends he starts hanging out with.
Why is that exciting?
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
That's a thought.
You know why gangsters are gangsters? Because they're trying to get rich. You know what you are already? Rich. The fuck are you hanging out with these guys for?
Also, you know what gangsters are? Guys that don't have shit.
That's
and
the thing.
Trying to get something, and they don't care.
That's my point.
And they're also young.
That's what I don't get too. Is like that's what I never understood. Is like, why when you're rich do you then? Because it's not like he hung out with these guys all growing up. Right. He's not even from here. Right. He's from another place. Like he doesn't know these people. It's not like, oh well, I grew up on the block. block with all these guys, and they took care of me when I was a kid, and blah, blah, blah. That's not how it works.
No.
He just met guys and thinks it's cool to be a tough guy.
You know where I've never seen an old gangster? In a documentary being interviewed outside of a police or a prison jumpsuit.
Once in a blue, you get that guy.
It's very rare.
Once in a while, you get that Rick Ross guy, who, not the rapper, the drug dealer. You get that freeway Rick Ross guy, the guy like that who like beat it, or like the Cocaine Cowboys guys. Like 3 of those guys aren't behind bars when they're interviewing them.
That's like 6 dudes on Earth. Like outside of that, they're all in fucking jail.
Yeah, or you got like an old, like Henry Hill back in the day, like guys like that, like the old gangsters who went in the program and then got out of it. But I guess. His friend, quote, Brian, said, quote, he was bringing the edge around and I didn't like it, which is interesting. So he asked Anthony, why do you hang out with these guys? You don't need to hang out with these guys. Anthony says, quote, these guys care about me. They're genuine dudes, which no. You're rich and a Raider, so they think that's cool probably. His friend said, quote, I couldn't understand it. You're married to a lawyer. You're living in Playa del Rey. Why would you be involved with these kinds of people? And so he said that his friend started kind of backing away from him and all that sort of thing, and he started to feel bad. And his other friend, who said he saw him at the breakfast, put vanity in her seat, said, quote, that he didn't like the new friends, and said, quote, that's when I stopped hanging around. That's when he started to change. He got that scowl, that ugly look. Eesh. So he's just changed completely.
Is he bringing those dudes into Playa del Rey?
Yeah, he's hanging out with these guys.
Oh,
these are like,
God.
this is his circle now, which he's doing everything backwards.
Yeah.
Like that's what you do before, and then you get into football and you try to wean yourself off. This guy had no connection to these people and just said, I think I'll hang out with fucking gangsters. That's going to be good for me.
Bring the Bloods from East LA over to Playa del Rey.
So weird. He just needed excitement, I guess. It's so, and a billing scam isn't a medical billing scam. That's no fun.
It's not as lucrative.
It's lucrative.
It's not as
fucking boring.
It's not as in your face.
Yeah,
fun,
it's not fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
So June 25th, 2001. You want to talk fun? This is fun. June 25th, 2001, the body of Dennis, quote, Denny Ray Henderson was found in the back seat of a red Chevy Impala. His head appeared to have been stomped to a crushed state.
Oh, my God.
He had a heel mark on his cheek, a fractured cheekbone, and a dislocated jaw. He was stabbed in his left eye, in his ear, and 11 times in the back. And his wrists were tied with cables. It's fucking crazy.
In an Impala, like a new body or like a 64?
No, there's a newer one. There's a shit new Impala.
I'd love this to be like...
This wasn't like... No, he wasn't...
Like Dr. Dre's
Yeah, I was
going to
say, he wasn't like tilted with hydraulics and shit. No, wasn't any of that shit.
All right.
So they find him and they're like, they don't know what to do. Yeah. And his brother, Dennis Henderson, it turns out to be Dennis Henderson is the body. His brother, Barry Henderson, apparently knew some dealings that Dennis had, and he turns the police in Anthony's direction. Uh-oh. He says that Anthony has something to do with this. Now, Barry, the brother, the dead man's brother, was Anthony's neighbor in one of his other houses. Okay. So he knew him through there. So later on, a detective says that Barry told him that he'd introduced Anthony to his younger brother Dennis when Anthony wanted to buy some ecstasy and weed, and Dennis could get it for him. So he's like, I can get you some ecstasy and weed. Now, first of all, you're hanging out with gangsters. You can't get ecstasy and weed. What kind of fucking shitty gangsters are those?
You go to your neighbor and ask him where can I get some ecstasy. You don't ask your neighbor that.
That's the one plus of hanging out with gangsters and shit, is if you need ecstasy and weed, they'll get it for you.
It's pretty common.
Pretty fucking easily, probably, and probably give you a good deal if they're your boys. So what the fuck? Anyway, he said he introduced Anthony to Dennis, and Denny Ray and Anthony started hanging out after that because, hey, he's a Raider and he's got drugs. It's a match made in fucking heaven. So Barry... Barry, the brother, said he knew Anthony as a man with a short fuse. Another man said that especially when it came to people that owed him money, he didn't take any shit. You owed him a fucking dime. It was a fuck you, pay me scenario.
Got it.
No matter what. He said that one day when the two of them were hanging out at lunch, Anthony made a stop at his storage locker and invited Barry to come in and take a look. Barry says that he tells the police later, he saw knives and bundles of zip ties there,
Jesus.
Which is a bad thing to have together, probably. Also, police raid jackets, which is an odd thing to have in your possession, especially when they're lying next to machine guns, silencers, hand grenades, more ammunition than he could count, and, quote, a book on how to assassinate someone. He had all that shit laying out in a row. Like,
wow.
The most, like, it's like a silly pile of evidence. Yeah. It's like an Acme Roadrunner pile of evidence. It's fucking ridiculous. Here's everything.
And it's
here's my whole plan.
The list started with knives, zip ties, and police raid jackets, and somehow it got worse.
Machine gun silencers, hand grenades, tons of ammunition, and a book, just in case you didn't know.
Wow.
By the way, what I'm going to do with all this isn't a Halloween costume.
Right.
I'm looking to kill motherfuckers. So according to this guy here, he says that Anthony told Barry that Anthony and his associates used the police raid jackets during robberies because a big thing that people do, like Omar on The Wire, is robbing drug dealers. That's a lucrative field.
Sure.
And it always has been and always will be. That's like in the 80s, those crooked cops in New York, that's what they used to do, is they used to fucking get hired by rival crews to rob the rival drug dealers.
Brilliant.
And fuck, who the fuck are they going to tell? Cops came in and stole a bunch of our drugs. Oh yeah, how much drugs did you have?
Right.
Well, they're putting the cuffs on you. There's nothing you could do about that. So that's just one of those it's all in the game type of things, as they would say on The Wire.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like that's part of the fucking game.
That's a cold fucking line.
That's what they do. That's all in the game. That was what they did. Everything on The Wire was it's all in the game. That's all it was.
That is cold as fuck.
We're all fucking playing it, so anything that happens to you, you know it's fucking happening to you.
That is cold.
That's why Omar didn't want to kill any civilians or any shit like that, because then it's all in the fucking game. Everybody I kill, they're in the game.
He's
Fuck
a nice
them.
guy.
He always says, I never put my gun on nobody who wasn't in the game.
Oh.
That's his fucking thing. He's like Dexter of robbing drug dealers. It's basically what he is. That's the Omar character.
I like him.
You would love him. You watch the fucking show, but you won't. So anyway.
Is he a sympathetic character? Is that what you're telling me?
Omar's the most sympathetic. He's great. He's the best character.
God damn it.
He's the fucking best character.
Okay.
So, they used this during robberies. Anthony also showed Barry some license plates and explained they would rent Crowd Victorias, which was the car police detectives drove at the time, and exchanged the plates for these cold plates, is what they called them. They're untraceable plates. And Barry told Anthony that he bragged about kidnapping and killing two brothers who ran a car wash. And we'll talk about that. So
he told that to this guy before his brother disappeared.
He told this to Barry before Barry's brother disappeared, and then this guy, once Barry Henderson's brother disappears, once Denny Ray disappears, this guy goes to the cops and says, I think I know what happened to my brother. Let me tell you a story about all this shit this guy's told me and all the stuff that he has. So this cop is obviously like, clicking his pen, fucking taking notes with that.
Slow down. Say that again.
Excuse me one more time. Like that's a pretty fucking decent thing he just told him. He has all this shit in his storage unit, and he also brags about killing people. So what this police officer does is he digs around and finds a case of two brothers with a car wash that fit this fucking description. And he finds out that on November 11th, 1999, these are the Nettles brothers. Ricky Nettles' body was found on a street in Compton, and his brother Kevin's body was found dumped 8 miles away at this, like this, on November 11th, on the same day. Both brothers were killed separate locations. Now, that's either on purpose or a fucking huge coincidence. That's an amazing coincidence. You're both murdered and dumped 8 miles separately on the same day.
So close together.
That's incredible. Jesus Christ. Wow.
In the scope of the world, and two brothers are dead, and they are that close together. That's fucking mind-boggling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. The coincidence there. I don't even know what to say about it. Yeah. But it gets worse, actually. Okay. They weren't just dumped dead. Hey, what happened to them? Let's do an autopsy and find out. It's pretty obvious. Their heads are wrapped in duct tape.
Oh, boy.
Heads wrapped in duct tape, bad sign immediately. Yeah. If anyone ever starts wrapping your head in duct tape, fight, because you're dying.
Yeah.
Something bad's going to...
This isn't going to end...
You're going to be raped or killed, I guarantee you.
There's not going to be another birthday.
No, they're not like... No one wraps your head in duct tape and then goes, cool, see you later. That never happened.
You look great.
So, fantastic. This was just how I thought. So their heads are wrapped in duct tape. They'd both been shot multiple times, and they had just tons of signs of torture on them as well. Mm-hmm. Ricky Nettles had a burn mark on his stomach in a triangular shape of an iron. He had an iron mark. They were burning him.
Branded.
He was burned with a fucking iron.
A clothing iron.
An iron.
Holy shit.
Yeah, not like a Terry Funk fucking branding an opponent. What is this? Yes, we're in
That's what I saw
Amarillo.
in my head.
Yeah, you saw Terry Funk going after a guy. No, an actual fucking clothes iron.
Okay.
Fucking gets this guy. Yeah, much.
Jesus, I'm dumb.
That's hilarious. That's probably the first thing I thought of too. Honestly,
this is the difference between an L.A. Murder investigation and, say, I don't know, Rulo, Nebraska, or some shit.
There you'd expect.
They'd be like, this is crazy, y'all.
Did they have their did they have their ranches? Was that what it was?
Was there
branded
a Circle H on his back?
That could be that ranch. We'll match that right up to the right ranch and we'll get it. No,
in a small town, they'd be like, this is real weird that they're brothers and they both have duct tape on their head.
That's weird.
That's a family tradition.
I bet they were both into some weird stuff sexually. You know what I mean? I bet. Okay.
So we're looking for two murderers.
Homosexual,
right.
Kinky brother lovers. That's what we got. That's what's happening.
This one killed this one,
Weird.
and on his way, he got 8 miles away,
Weird.
and then he bled to death.
Super weird, ain't it? It's just weird. Wow, these two, I'll tell you. So I'll tell you what. So they'd been burned and everything else. Both had also been handcuffed.
Okay.
So this is awful. This is a terrible way. So also too, that's two bound, killed.
Murdered
execution.
Exactly the same way.
Torture, execution, mob-style killings, basically, except the mob would have made it so they couldn't be found. This is some gangster shit right here. I will say that. I'll give him, if he's trying to be gangster, he's doing a fucking hell of a job right here.
He's crushing it.
Absolutely. So they did a little more investigation, and I guess the evening of November 11th, before they were murdered, obviously, Ricky and his brother Kevin were closing up their business. It's on Vernon Avenue. They had an auto repair shop and a hand car wash and a cell phone and beeper store and a barber shop. Yeah. They had like one of those little ghetto strip malls that you see, and you can, if it's in Phoenix, you could add a quinceanera shop to that, and that's the fucking typical one. It has
dollar store,
giant pink dresses outside. That would be the one. So Kevin was sitting in a small office in the auto repair shop with his friend. They were watching the Lakers game. Mm-hmm. At that point, a tall black man with a green police jacket and a badge clipped to his belt came in the shop with his gun drawn and ordered Kevin outside. Mm-hmm. So this seems like, okay, if a police officer bursts into your store with his gun out and says, get outside, you fucking do it, probably. Now, at that point, his brother Ricky and an employee named Manny were across the street closing up the barber shops. They had all these fucking businesses. They're enterprising guys here. Ricky leaves the shop while Manny stays behind to lock up. When Manny was done, he heads over to the auto shop, and he said at that point, the Manny guy says he saw a large man dressed in a dark suit with a badge on his belt and a gun in a shoulder holster put Ricky into the back seat of a car. He said Ricky's hands were put behind him as if he'd been cuffed, and Kevin was already in the back of the vehicle. It was a dark color four-door sedan, and Manny yelled, "What are you guys doing?" taking them away. Yeah. So he was locking up, and his boss walked out, and him and his brother are getting put into a fucking police car when he walks out. So I guess the cop, as they thought, the big man in the suit, said, quote, "We're taking him down for questioning," and then the guy got in the passenger side of the car. The police officer did, quote unquote, and the car pulled off, and that was it.
So there was a driver too.
There was a driver and a passenger, and that was it. And the next time they were found, they were dead, and Ricky's apartment had been ransacked also. So this is, there was torture, ransacking, and, this is fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. So following Dennis's murder, the first murder, the one we talked about, Barry's brother, the police suspected Anthony obviously was involved in all three cases, but couldn't make a fucking case on him.
Nothing.
Because all they had was, he said this, and this might have happened, and a bunch of conjecture and shit. No hard evidence. Nobody said, here's a murder weapon with his fingerprints on it, or I saw him kill this guy.
But man, he can't identify him in like a lineup.
Apparently, he just said black guy, big black guy. Yeah. That's all he said. And
how racist!
That's Manny is
God
very
damn it,
racist. Apparently, Mexicans super racist against black people. I don't know. That's just what we're going on the evidence here. So, 2003. February 2003, 1:30 in the morning, there's a police officer driving down Lincoln Boulevard in Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. At this point, this guy sees a building on fire, and it turns out it's a Simply Sofa's furniture showroom on fire. They could hear, you could hear all the fire and all that kind of shit. It was very loud, and there's wood burning. It's a goddamn sofa shop and fucking those cushions. Yeah, it's a matchbook. So right away, the investigators thought it was a suspicious fire. Firefighters said they reported the strong smell of gasoline, which is always a bad sign. Yeah. And when the investigators got inside the building after the fire was out the next day, they found 3 fire bombs, which were 5-gallon plastic water jugs cut off at the neck, stuffed with paper and filled with gasoline, which that'll do it. That'll set something on fire. They took all this, they gathered it, they sent it off to the lab. Now, Anthony becomes the prime suspect in this arson as well. They speak to the owner of the store, a woman named Marilyn Nelson, and they discovered that 2 weeks before the fire, she and Anthony argued over some items he'd left on consignment. So
he leaves some shit there to sell.
He put a chaise lounge up for consignment, and it somehow ends in arson. I don't know how the fuck that works, but Anthony came to the store to pick up a check for the items he'd sold and to retrieve a few of the unsold things, including some swords and a marble desk.
Jesus.
Anthony noticed that the stand for something he had was broken, and he insisted that the woman pay for it. He said, "You broke my shit, pay for it." They argued about it. She said she believed it was broken when it was brought in, and he was adamant, saying, "You're going to fucking pay for it.
I'll burn this down.
I'll burn this motherfucker to the ground." And he's a big kind of a scary guy and whatever. She said that this just didn't seem like something to fight over. She said this wasn't the hill to die on, basically. And she just finally ends up agreeing and giving him a $615 check for the items he'd sold and all that shit. And she said that he said he'd come back for the unsold items and told her she should have the other check ready for the broken desk when he comes back to pick up the other shit. And she said, no problem, whatever. Now, before he ends up returning, this Marilyn said a woman came in identifying herself as Anthony's personal assistant. And this woman called Marilyn to say that Anthony had lost the $615 check and needed a replacement. So later, Anthony shows up at the store, and he and 2 of Marilyn's workers loaded his items back into a truck. Marilyn makes out the second check, leaves it on the counter, goes back to her desk. So here's your check. Get the fuck out of here. She was glad that he was going. She just didn't want to fucking deal with him anymore. But he apparently didn't pick up the check. He waited for her at the counter. She tried to act like she was, not coming out. Maybe he'd just fucking leave. But finally, she asked him what was going on. And she said, she looked at him and said, "What?" Because she was standing there the whole time. She said that he stared her down and pointed a finger at her and then shook it slowly, like Dikembe Mutombo style.
Oh, my God.
And then turned and left.
Oh, that is the scariest shit ever.
That's insane. That's exactly what Avon did in The Wire first season when they saw him after the basketball game and they couldn't get a lead. They were trying to follow him in a car and they couldn't. They finally passed him and they were like, "Oh shit, that's him." And he just waved his finger off.
Wagging it at him?
Wagged his finger off and took off. So he did the same type of thing here. Now that fucking obviously freaked her out a little bit. A couple days later, she finds out that the check that he had lost had been cashed. I don't know why she didn't cancel the fucking check.
Why didn't you put a stop payment on it?
I don't get that. Apparently she was lazy. I'm not sure. She also says that when Wells Fargo called the store to say that Anthony was in the branch trying to cash the second check, her daughter told them not to cash it for them. And then they didn't hear from Anthony anymore. Then 2 weeks later, her fucking store burns to the ground.
Over $615.
Over a $615 check that wasn't his.
Right. It's not even his.
It's not even his. It wasn't like he was owed that money.
Right.
So now this whole
you foiled my attempt to rob you for $600, which was a terrible attempt. That's the
awful.
Worst way of
with
robbing.
Checks and here's my furniture. It's a very odd way to do this.
We're gonna know that you cashed the other one.
Probably, yeah. There's
idiot.
Bank records.
Yeah.
So August of 2003, a few months later, now the police have some evidence here. They have motive, they have all sorts of shit, and they have physical evidence that you usually don't get at a fire,
right.
because these fire bombs. not everything. Apparently, in the heat of the blaze, they said the firebombs caved in on themselves.
See, that's what I was going to ask. Those are plastic jugs. Why didn't that burn away?
And preserved some of the envelopes and mail inside it, protected it by the melted plastic. So what they find are 30 pieces of gasoline-soaked mail, all addressed to Anthony or his wife.
What an asshole.
Which is the worst thing you could possibly have.
Fucking idiot.
He used his own mail. His own fucking mail. He's like, yo, you want this Pottery Barn calendar? The catalog? No, I'm going to throw it in this fire thing, all right? What about this? You pay this? All right, we'll just throw it in the fire thing.
Penny Saver's good kindling.
You going to re-up Entertainment Weekly? No, all right, I'll throw the fucking thing in the...
Are you telling me he didn't twist it?
He didn't. He's kindling. I twist it, Chet. Twist it. Simulate kindling. So... This fucking idiot used his own fucking mail. He could have just got a bunch of loose leaf paper. What the fuck are you thinking? You lazy fuck.
He is a bad firebomb builder.
They had mail, and that's what he did. So, geez, at him or his wife. So obviously they want to talk to him, and they did a little bit before that. The police in July talked to the Smiths, talked to Anthony at their condominium. They have a condo in Marina Del Rey. He told this detective told Anthony about the fire and about the raging and all that shit, and he was he made a big deal out of it. He said the firefighters had to leap from one roof to the next, and he was making shit up, trying to see what Anthony would say about it. Anthony, all he had to say was, Anthony asked this guy what Marilyn Nelson had said about him.
Oh, boy.
And the detective said that Marilyn had him pointing the finger at anybody. It was the 30 pieces of mail and the firebomb all addressed to you, or what made me come talk to you, stupid.
By the way, here's your car payment.
Yeah. Here. Oh, yeah. By the way, did you...
Did you make a payment on your Corolla, sir? That's amazing.
What you owe American Express is disturbing. Honestly, you didn't need that. I saw what you bought. It's every item. You didn't need that. You're a fucking asshole. So, he said that both of these guys, the cop, while he's talking to him, he's talking to Smith in his kitchen of the condo here, and once he shows him all the letters, and he said, well, it's not Marilyn, it's the letters. Apparently Smith breaks down and cries.
He just starts crying.
He starts crying. Whoops. He starts sobbing. He starts saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, and he's weeping with his head in his hands.
That ain't gangster at all.
Not at all. So the cop was like,
did I just crack the case?
I didn't expect that. He figured this was kind of confessing. Yeah. I mean, he said, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Apparently, at that point, his wife, Anthony's wife, Teresa, runs into the kitchen and asks her what's wrong. Asks everybody, so what the fuck is going on? What's wrong? Anthony hugs her and, buries himself in her, like she's his mom. And Anthony says, quote, if there was a fire, how is anything left? He asked the cop. And that's when he began to cry, because he was like, I don't know. So they said, the cop at that point said, why don't we go talk about this down at the police station? Obviously, that's a better place to talk.
Bring your wife. I mean, your lawyer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Anthony asked for a few minutes alone with his wife before they rode down there, and his wife is a fucking lawyer and a prosecutor, so this is a good person to talk to.
Right.
So they said he rode down with the police sergeant. He said it was a quiet ride. The sergeant did. But at this point, they get to the station. The cop said Anthony was a complete 180. He was a completely different guy. At this point, he's 6'4", 320. He's a big motherfucker. He's in the little tiny, you've seen the police interview room if you've seen the first 48.
That's all him.
That big cat with that, he's wearing that table as a hat. So it's very tiny. So this guy, the detective, the sergeant, settles himself in, and he starts talking to, he starts trying to just get dialogue going. He said, and he figured that Smith was going to be fine. He's like, oh, this is fine. He's just trying to act casual about it, like, all right, yeah, let's put you in for arson, no problem. We'll do some prison time and everything's great. He ends up going over, oh, this is your phone number, all that kind of shit. He even asked him, he asked Anthony, do you want the door open or closed? What do you prefer? You want some privacy or what? Very cordial. Everything was fine. And then at fucking one point, Anthony just stops. And he's just like, basically, fuck you. He says, quote, you know how stupid this is. This is stupid. This is stupid. He said, how would I even have time to set a fire? I'm a very busy man. I don't have time for this crap. No time for fire.
Right.
I don't have time to collect all my mail and make a firebomb and go all the way down there. You have time to argue over $600 checks. I think you have time for fires too. What the fuck?
You know how much time it takes to put all those bills into a 5-gallon drum? Do you have any idea?
Do you have, because I do. It took me, shit. No, I don't know anything, man. I don't know what you're doing. I don't have time for that crap. So now he's not doing anything. He's like, I don't know who the fuck you were talking about. I didn't do shit. So the cops tried a different approach. The cop said, he took a paper out and he said it was the guns that he owns, that Smith owns. He says, it says you own a 45 pistol, a 22 pistol, a 357 revolver, a 44 revolver, a 44 Desert Eagle, a 44 Colt, Olympic 223, another 223 pistol from Rocky Mountain Arms, and a 22 Derringer.
He has a lot of guns.
That's a lot of fucking handguns. Yeah. Smith says, quote, that's it. And the cop says, what do you mean that's it? That's a lot of guns for one guy. And Anthony said, quote, you ran that list and that's what you came up with? So the cop says, that's what's listed in the automated firearm system, yes. And then Smith just says, I only own shotguns. He changes from, that's all you got? Because I got way more than that, to I don't have any of those things.
None of those are mine.
Yeah, and he says, the police officer says, who bought all these guns? And Anthony just says, you go back into your records and you'll see. And so the cop says, these aren't my records. This is the Department of Justice. And Smith says, quote, I couldn't care less whose records they are. You go back and you check those records and you will find I was charged with domestic violence. You know, when you're charged with domestic violence, you can't own any guns. I got rid of them. Don't own the guns. What I do every year, I go every year to Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Chile to go shoot. I'm a wing shooter. That's it. Don't need pistols. I don't own guns like that. I sold my guns. Okay. So the cop goes, okay, great. Now back to the fire.
Right.
Like, that's terrific. Back here. So, he said, no problem here. So that's how they all, so this guy then says, here's all the evidence. I have all this shit. He said, all the mail belongs to you. Don't you think you gotta at least give me something on all the mail belongs to you.
A random dude came to your trash can and packed his firebomb?
And then firebombed a woman who you have beef with. Right. That's pretty fucking coincidental. And Anthony said, quote, well, I'm not dumb enough to firebomb a place and put my stuff in it. Help me out with that. You can help me out with that. So he's like, you tell me why I'm so dumb. And it's like, I don't know why you're so dumb. Your defense can't be, I'd be real stupid to do that. Because sometimes people are real fucking stupid. Right. So that happens.
You know, the thing about dumb and stupid is that it's impossible to explain. That's what makes it dumb and stupid.
You can't explain it. So the cop says, who set you up? Tell me who set you up and we can go get them. I'll go arrest them right fucking now.
Oh, yeah.
And Anthony said, it's the guy in there. I'm telling you right now. Bring him. I think it's him. And he was just like pointing to people randomly like, how about that? He said, that's how foolish a question that is. I'm a ex-professional athlete. How would I know? I'm not sitting here trying to insult your intelligence any more than I want my intelligence insulted. But the thing I am asking you is to go do your homework. You haven't done your homework, man. It's like, actually, I have all these papers with your name on it. That's homework. That's it.
A ton of homework done.
Yeah. So then the cop is like, hold on a second. We were at your house and you just wept and apologized. Right. Where the fuck did that guy go? Right. What the fuck were you apologizing for? And he just said that, wow. Anthony said that he shed a tear because this is amazing horseshit. Anthony says, he tells the cops, I shed a tear because you told me some firemen almost got hurt fighting that fire. He said, quote, God. You tell me someone got hurt, I'm going to respond. Somebody going to try to do something to me. Someone try to do something to someone else. That's still going to hurt me. That's not right, man. You don't solve problems that way. It ain't no $1,200 check is serious to Anthony Smith. Now he's third person in himself. Yeah. It ain't worth it. You walk away, situation like that, walk away. She'll get hers. Walk away. She'll get it. That's what he tells her.
Also, $1,200 cool. check? It was $650, sir.
I think he's adding both checks.
He's doubling them.
Yeah, so he's like, I don't know shit. Nah, you're crazy. So then they do he has tons of residences and vehicles everywhere because he's all sorts of shit. So they start searching all of his shit, and that's when they find all of his badges, identification cards. Two said Anthony Smith, intelligence officer. One was for Anthony Smith of the, quote, Organized Crime Bureau. And the fourth was an American Press Association ID. He had a press pass, for Christ's sake, with his address. It had his actual address on it, but the name was Wayne Peartree.
What?
So that's the name he made up on it. Yeah, Peartree. So,
Partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, there you go.
What a dickhole.
He's a fucking asshole. So. A week later, he goes back and has another fucking round of questioning, and at this point the cop goes, you know what? You're under arrest. We're going to fucking arrest you for this.
May as well.
Yeah. So yeah, they have the arson trial. By the way, a bunch of gang members in Raiders jackets were in the courtroom, like stalking witnesses in the corridors and shit like that. One of the prosecutors was saying it was just fucking insane. Like, she had to have police protection to feel comfortable.
Why are we allowing these people in here?
Well, they have to be a reason to bet. If they don't say anything, then you can't say that they're not allowed to be there just because they have jackets on when someone else's family would be allowed to be there.
Pretty obvious.
Just because you look gangster, I don't think that's enough. I think that's racist, probably.
Maybe.
If you'd be like, yo, you're pretty black. And if you wear a Raiders jacket, I don't think you're allowed in court. I don't think that's okay to say.
I think that's how Trayvon Martin got killed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So maybe it's best that they let these guys in here. So the defense said they had a whole. Now, all of a sudden, during the trial for this arson, now they say that he cried at the condo when he was talking because he was upset because he just lost family members in a fire in Elizabeth City. He says his longtime girlfriend of a friend of his who he knew well, and her grown daughter were killed when their house burned down in 1996, which was years before. So the fire. But the fire dredged up emotional memories is what he's actually tested. And they said he's a fucking amazing witness. They said he's amazing.
Really?
He's has his shit straight. He doesn't fucking stray from what his point is.
Wow.
He's emotional when he needs to be emotional. They said he's a fucking stone cold sociopath, this fucking guy.
Or he's a woman.
Yeah. No, but that too. But like, for a witness, he's like a stone cold gangster sociopath. Like, there's just nothing fucking about him. He said that they talk on the stand about everything like that. They talk about his old mail. He says that his mail must have ended up in the firebombs because when this is awesome too. He had a box of old mail in his truck that day because he was emptying out a storage locker. He hired a couple day laborers to help him move things from the Simply sofas. The workers
clearly
must have just put the mail, because there's no room for him now, just threw it in the dumpsters behind the store.
Right.
Then whoever made the firebomb didn't show up with their own firebombs. They showed up and went, there'll be paper there.
Right.
We'll just stuff it there. I'm sure there's a bunch of mail. Don't worry about it. That's the theory that he gives in court.
Wow.
No one else, by the way, no one saw these day laborers. Marilyn's employees were the ones who helped him load his shit up, and they said he had nobody with him.
That's a good point.
All of this, though, jury deadlocked, 7-5. Mistrial.
Raider fans,
all of them. Totally deadlocked, which, I mean, I don't know, that his mail is a lot of evidence. That's a lot of fucking evidence.
That's too much.
In a fire, that's as much evidence as you're going to get for a fire.
I got it. Okay, fine. But everything is addressed to him or his wife.
We've talked about this too. Arson's the hardest thing to prove that someone particular did. Yeah. So this is about as much evidence as you're going to get. His name is on shit in the bomb.
His name and address, James.
And his address, yeah. They try another trial, and it's deadlocked again.
What the fuck is going on?
The last time the jury was deadlocked 7-5 in Anthony's favor. This time 11-1 in Anthony's favor.
Wow.
Everybody said he was the best witness ever. Like we said, he said he had humility and he smiled. They said he was funny even a little bit. And when it was appropriate, the jurors just loved him.
No dark jokes?
No dark jokes, none of that. December 2004, the case is dismissed. It's fucking dismissed. He'd spent 17 months in jail already, but it's finally dismissed. He has all his like people from the like community supporting him. A business consultant, Episcopalian church pastors are coming.
No.
Oh yeah. One of them is his godfather. Some Episcopalian. It's fucking crazy.
Oh my god.
It's fucking nuts. One of his friends said that he found a changed man after the trial. He said, quote, he was very paranoid. He was not reading things correctly. He thought I was talking to the police. He said Anthony would do strange things, and he said that he didn't realize they were strange. You know, like a crazy person who's been hit in the fucking head a lot. You know, like people with brain damage.
Right.
He said, quote, I think he has a multifaceted personality. He's been in some really tough places, and he's been at the top of the food chain. Like, yeah, and at the top of the food chain, he had his head bashed in a lot, and now his brains are pudding.
Did he just call him schizo?
I think he did. A multifaceted personality. That's nice for Schizo.
Also, he's asking you lots of questions because he still has shit to hide.
That's the other thing, yeah. I mean? This friend said he ended the relationship with Anthony. He said, finally, I said, quote, if you can't talk to me straight, there's no reason for us to talk. He said that I guess I was around during a good time, and then I saw his descent into not having fun. Yeah, because it's not as fun to burn shit to the ground. So, October 7th, 2008, empty stretch of road outside of a town in rural California here. There is a 30-something Hispanic man in a pool of his own blood, dead, found by police officers. This guy here, it's not Manny. He had a black eye and bruises and cuts on his back as if he'd been punched and beaten and kicked before he was shot to death. 9mm gun is determined to be the murder weapon later on. The ID in his pockets says it's a guy named Mario Ponce or Ponce, and the detectives told his wife about it, and she said that he had left the night before driving her white Lincoln Navigator, and he had his cell phone with him, and also the police found no cell phone on him, and the car was nowhere to be found. He was just him dumped out there. They do get a hold of Murillo's phone records, though, and it shows that night, shockingly, a series of calls to Anthony Smith in the hours before his death. In the weeks before he was murdered, he was a diesel mechanic, and he took off work from his business and stayed home with the kids and shit like that the week of a few weeks before the murder. His wife thought he knew he was going to be murdered, which is odd. I don't think that happened, but weird. He just happened to take a vacation. They had been going together since they were teenagers. They met when they were both working at McDonald's as teenagers, and this guy sent money back to school in Mexico, sent his brother through graduate school and all this shit. Nice guy. Dude. Yeah, very nice guy. They got married. They set up a business in 2001, like a tire shop. They had a truck repair shop, and they had contracts with U-Haul and shit like that. So they were doing well.
Great.
Yeah. Now, that night, October 6th, Murillo told his wife that he might have to go out that night. He said he had business with a friend named Tony, which is, as we know,
that's short for Anthony.
Yeah. 9:30 p.m., Murillo's death, apparently had the plot going. There's the phone records that say calls between Murillo, Anthony Smith, and two other men, a man named, Jesus Christ, Charles Honest is his name, or Honest, but it looks like Honest, and his nickname, Chuck E. Cheese. I'm a gangster. Okay, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Chuck E. Cheese is his nickname.
Right.
And a guy named DeJuan White. So they tracked through all these records. They were able to track everybody's, if you've listened to Serial and cell phone pinging and all that shit. It got a little bit better as time went on. And when you have 4 different people to use pings off of, you can actually triangulate some shit because there's all sorts of different things. And they keep making calls. It was dinging off all these towers. So they put the phone in the area of the murder. 9:14, DeJuan's phone was pinging off a tower near Chuck E. Cheese's place in South L.A. 30 minutes later, that phone moved west to Marina Del Rey, where Anthony lived. At 10:20, Murillo called Anthony. Both men seemed to be near or in their homes. 36 minutes later, Murillo called again, but now Anthony's phone was 30 miles north. So that's how that was working. Shortly after 11, Murillo's cell phone cell rang in Lancaster, and it was him. His wife said that he answered, "Hey, Tony," and then said he was leaving, and he said, "Wait up for me," and he left. And he told his wife, and then he obviously never
needed to be waited up for again.
No. At 11:44, Murillo and Anthony spoke again. Now Anthony was in Santa Clarita, pinging off a tower there. A little over an hour later, Murillo made a call that showed he was heading back up the freeway north toward this town of Lancaster, which is where he was found right outside of.
Gotcha.
The last call on his phone was when he was still alive, obviously. So that's what ends up happening here. 1:03 p.m., DeJuan called Cheese, Chuck E. Cheese. Both men were in or near Lancaster. And then for 57 minutes from 1:05 to 2:02, all the phones were silent. That would probably be, so they piece all that shit together. We got them. Okay, we meet up here. Probably go get something to eat. I don't know what the fuck. So, they kind of...
Head over to Chuck E. Cheese and play some video games.
That's all it is, man. So they end up they process this guy. There was 2 security guards who heard a series of gunshots while making their rounds at a SoCal Edison substation nearby. Now over here they find. They figure it out that Murillo Ponce was forced to his knees and shot, obviously. Shot twice in the head, 3 more times in the chest and back. Also, too, he was, again, beaten up and shit like that. The normal course of whatever the fuck. Yeah. So then they get the more freeway thing, and they catch all the phones going back south again before they're silent and all that kind of shit. So after this murder, the police start to stake out his address at the Marina City Club, Anthony's address. They start doing all sorts of surveillance on him. On November 6th, Murillo Ponce's white Navigator was in one of Anthony Smith's allotted lot in the condo garage. He still has the fucking car. Parked next to it was Smith's green pickup truck and also a stolen Nissan Xterra. So he just steals cars, takes them home, parks them outside of his house. And one of the Xterra's license plates had been transferred to the Navigator. So he's just doing all this shit. So they end up getting a search warrant for his condo, his cars, and the Navigator. They find an AR-15 with a suppressor, 9mm ammo, but no 9mm weapon. The trunk of the stolen Xterra were multiple California license plates, government license plates too, government vehicle license plates. Wow. A replica semi-automatic handgun that was actually a pellet gun, 2 sets of yellow rubber gloves, some rope that had been cut, zip ties or cable ties like the type used by police, 4 flex cuffs, and several books entitled, let's see here, one of them is called, quote, Make 'em Pay, Ultimate Revenge Techniques from the Master Trickster.
Why is that a book?
I don't understand who publishes that. The next title is, quote, Kill Without Joy. Exclamation point. Professional Killers, an inside look at the Outlaw's Bible. Those are the 3 books.
Those are terrible books.
Those are terrible books to own, especially when you put them in with everything else. There were also 6 baseball caps that said bail enforcement or fugitive recovery agent on them. Searches of Chuck E. Cheese and Dewan's residence. I feel like Dewan needs a nickname bad. And vehicles turned up more weapons, but again, no 9mm gun. I would hope these gangsters know enough to throw the fucking gun out.
He's read enough books.
He's read enough of these books. Yeah, I'm sure that's in page 1 somewhere. So during questioning here, Anthony admitted to having Murillo's cell phone. He also handed over the keys to the Navigator. He told the detectives that Murillo was behind on his car payments and asked Anthony to chop up the vehicle and sell it so Murillo could report it stolen, which happens. I've known people that have done that. Murillo met him at a tire yard, he says, and Anthony said that's where he handed over the Navigator and the keys. He wasn't sure of the day, and he wasn't anywhere near Lancaster on the night of October 6th, which we know isn't true.
Right. So he already admitted to a crime.
That's the thing. They told him that he's a liar. The one guy said, quote, I like you, Tony, but you're a liar. They tell him. So then he changed his story. He said that Murillo wasn't there in person to hand over the keys to the Navigator. The vehicle was left at the tire yard with Murillo's cell phone, child's car seat, and wife's pocketbook still inside for Anthony to pick up on the 7th because he was supposed to get it and steal it. Right. And then Anthony remembered, that's right. He was headed up north on the night of the 6th because Murillo had a job for him. So he said Anthony drove up to somewhere, and Murillo told him to wait and then never showed up. So he says that time when you have me up there when I was killing him, I went up there. He told me to go up there, and I went up there. That's why it said I was up there, but then he didn't show up. So, and then he must have showed up later and died. Somebody must have killed him when I left. I don't know. It's crazy.
The convenience of the bad things that happen right in his wake.
Yeah.
Somehow they
so convenient.
It's weird.
He said that in his interviews, he had the habit of sidestepping with long-winded descriptions and prattling on about shit that doesn't matter. So he would just that was his new strategy.
He's a woman.
Oh yeah. He's turned into one of my aunts. So, Anthony was, humble, and, he just said he was trying. He wanted to help them out. He was crying. I want to help you find poor Murillo. Murillo! Like he was fucking hurt. He was forthcoming. He said that the 2 men had dealt in stolen freight. He said he had a business with Murillo. He said he didn't know how Murillo would come by these stolen truckloads of merchandise, but the dude would pay him to unload the goods. It was $10,000 a job. And he said he'd fenced electronic equipment, asthma inhalers, energy drinks, fireworks. They said Murillo a lot of times had a ton of cash on him, tens of thousands, sometimes even $100,000. And even the night of the murder that he was killed, he had called Anthony about a new load. So he might have dropped it off, got paid, and got robbed by these terrible people.
This is a guy that's behind on his car payment.
This is
that has $100,000 in his
That
possession.
was the first story. Now he's telling the truth. First he wasn't. The first 3 stories were a lie.
So meanwhile, he the first time he admits to a crime, I was going to commit insurance fraud. Now it's we sell stolen shit together.
And
that's
sometimes he's got 100 G's in cash, and
he's admitting to every crime except murder.
Well, that's what idiots do. They found that's the window they gave him. Maybe you two are mixed up with something. Maybe you can help us find maybe the guy who actually did. Well, yeah, because we were in these illegal businesses. That's the window. Now you're in more.
Oh boy.
They said the whole time he called the sergeant sir. He would express his gratitude for them for, quote, trying to work this thing out. He would praise his friend Murillo, saying, quote, he doesn't play games with people's money. He's a good guy. I don't know why anybody would hurt him. He said at one point in the interview, Smith even hugged one of the police officers and said, quote, I appreciate you being honest and keeping it real with me 100%. I really do. Wow. So now, spring 2012, he's at trial again.
Yeah.
He's at fucking trial, which is, he's gotten off fucking twice. Yeah. He's got to feel pretty goddamn confident. Just let me up on that witness stand. I'm whatever. He's better in court than on a football field. He really is. And it's so funny, too, because while he's in the holding cell, because he's got like a team of lawyers, like he's got fucking money and shit. And while he's in the holding cell, there's lawyers coming in and out. And, he's just fucking sitting there. He doesn't give a shit. And then one time the door bursts open and it's not his lawyer. It's Dexter Manley, interior decorator from New York City. And he says... How is it you've come to arrive here? Seriously, this is ridiculous. You're the branding people, like with fire, you're killing. It's trashy. It's white trash, the whole thing. I don't care, Marina Del, whatever. It's ridiculous. This is all white trash. But the fire's very trashy. You know what I would do? And it's good for the room. It's the design. Use LEDs because it's not going to burn anything. Maybe you could just have wrapped some LEDs around the building or around the fellow that you had a problem with. Just wrap him in LEDs. Give the illusion of fire. Just a nice, but no, you're trash. It's a cool bulb. But no, you're just trash. And they don't even get hot. It would have been perfect. They don't use a lot of it's never mind. I have to go. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Poof. And Anthony is very surprised. And in a poof of cheetah skin and fur boas, feather boa, he's gone. And he's very surprised. Purple glitter is covering the cell. He's very, very surprised. So they send all 3 people, him and his Chuck E. Cheese and Dewan. Yeah. They get 3 separate trials in 2012. They attack different aspects of the prosecution. They bring in a bank loan officer to show that Murillo's wife had often missed payments on the Navigator, showing that maybe Murillo did want to get rid of the car for an insurance scam. Smith's lawyer pressed home the point. They said with the phone records put Dewan and Cheese near the murder scene. The last transmission from Anthony's cell was 45 minutes south of Lancaster. So I don't know why you're putting him in it, and they're not there. They're not co-defendants. So he's just going, there's 2 boogeymen out there having a trial. It seems like they're trying to put my client away. That's what they're saying. So they're all blaming each other, going, I don't know, shrugging their shoulders. Nuts. He said, Evans, the attorney said he pointed out that 5 calls Anthony made to Murillo's phone the morning after the murder. He said, why would he call the man he allegedly just murdered? To make it look good, I would think. But the defense here, they kept saying that they tried to obscure the fact that Smith had actually traveled toward Lancaster that night and speaking with Murillo the whole time. They tried to blow that whole thing off. Also that he had possession of the cell phone, his SUV, changed his story 5 fucking times. The whole thing. It's a lot. Without anything even. It's no murder weapon. No murder weapon, but it seems like a solid case. You got his dead guy's car and your fucking...
And the phone that you talked to him on. That's the part that really slams the door on it.
Yeah.
You talked to him, but you didn't meet up with him, but now you have his fucking phone.
Yeah, no, it's fucking absolutely true. Cheese and Dewan are found guilty. Cheese gets 35 years to life.
Wow.
And I don't know, I'm not sure what Dewan got. What ends up happening, though, is Smith's jury is fucking deadlocked. Again, 8-4 in favor of the prosecution, and there's a mistrial there. there, but they have another trial, obviously. Now, by the way, after Murillo's murder, Angie lost their home, their business with the kids. She went on public assistance and got a job working as a cashier.
Jesus.
And by the way, Murillo's death, that was her youngest son's birthday. That was her youngest son's 6th birthday.
What an asshole.
If you could just kick that lady in the fucking twat a little harder. Jesus Christ, man. Horrible. So in 2011, the cold case unit reopens the earlier murders. Now they're like, well, fuck Murillo. Let's go back a little bit here. And they end up opening up and go, yeah, we have tons of evidence from those other guys. So October 12th, he's going to trial. October 2012, he's going to trial for all 4 fucking murders now. All of them.
Yeah.
Let's round them up here. It's the Murillo murder. They go back to 1999, 2001, which is right after he retired. He pleads not guilty. The prosecutor says they don't have any DNA evidence, no fingerprints, no murder weapons, no eyewitness testimony, the whole thing. Family members of the Henderson, Denny Ray Henderson, and the Nettles brothers were in the courtroom. It was a long trial. We'll put it that way. Ricky's kids were there, which is Ricky Nettles' kids were there. Manny, back to Manny. He testified.
Murillo's wife didn't make it because she was working a third.
She had like
shift.
4 jobs and got deported somewhere.
Fucking
it was the Manny testifies, quote, Ricky never made it to the garage. He was stopped by the so-called police. He was stopped by that guy right there, and he points at Anthony Smith and IDs him in court.
Shook off that racist shit.
Yeah, that's right. No shit. The DA showed Manny pictures of Ricky's autopsy, and Manny cried his eyes out and looked at Anthony and said, "You son of a bitch," which is fucking really powerful shit for the jury right there. Anthony seemed, they said he was trying to, he looked a little more vulnerable than he did in the past. He wasn't quite as bulletproof here. He got really weird with his people, except for his lawyer. No one was in the courtroom with him. His wife wasn't there for the hearings. His DA wife, when family members tried to visit him in jail, he would refuse them visits. Like, he got super weird. His friend Brian, that we've got from the beginning, said, quote, I spoke with him a few times in 2008. He had changed his personality entirely. This wasn't the Anthony. This dude is gone. I don't know who that dude is.
Some stone cold killer.
Some stone cold killer, possibly with brain damage, who, I mean, Jesus Christ, all the people, his fucking wife and his kids, I mean, she's trying to have a nice life. Yeah. His kids, made a fool out of them. His friends, everybody, all these people he's killed. Poor Angie. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. All these people. But not nearly as bad as I feel for Anthony Smith, a financial professional.
For fuck's sake, there's so many.
At AXA Advisors in the greater New York City area. Anthony Smith, a flooring estimator at Elite Flooring Inc. in the greater Atlanta area. Anthony Smith, who is, quote, this is great, it's on his LinkedIn. Anthony Smith, quote, actively looking for employment. So he's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah. He's been an asset manager at Caliber Home Loans. If you need somebody in this capacity, there's an Anthony Smith who is looking for employment actively.
Could use a job.
Give him a job. Also, Anthony Lionheart Smith, an MMA fighter with a 30-13 record, whose last fight was beating a guy named Mauricio Rua by KO with an elbow at 129 of round 1 on July 22nd, 2018.
Nice.
So he's very active.
He's a hard fighter, too.
Finally, most of all, because this was the most confusing for me, Anthony Smith, a defensive back and 3rd-round draft pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2006. Does stints with Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, St. Louis, Green Bay, and Tennessee, and gets confused as fuck with this guy.
Thanks for ruining research.
Yeah, no shit. Thanks for making it fucking difficult for me, asshole. So they have all these. They have all of these. Another trial, and it's the same goddamn witnesses mainly. It's fucking weird too. That this time they bring back a witness here, because now there's like the Nettles brothers they're talking about the Nettles brothers, and they talk about them being shot. They were shot 6 times each, by the way. Wow. And the other,
the exact same amount of times.
The one brother had the burn on his chest, and the other brother had a U-shaped burn on his cheek, like a fucking horseshoe branding iron, actually. Which maybe that's actually what it was. Maybe they're like, we'll use every iron we got. So one of the witnesses ended up being allowed back into the country to testify. So they were like fighting that to say that they shouldn't be allowed back into the country because somebody got deported. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, it was a guy who said that Smith is the man he saw in the front passenger seat when he saw. Somebody saw the Nettles guy right before he was murdered with Smith in the car. So there was a lot of another Terry Ware said how he and another guy were in somewhere when the masked man struck Henderson with a gun and snatched a chain from around his neck, and it was ended up being the guy ended up picking out Smith as another one of the people involved in it. So there's all sorts of shit here.
If they would have done this police work though back in fucking 2001,
it took the cold case unit.
Still be fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It took the cold case unit. It's ridiculous here. So November 5th, 2015, finally, Anthony Smith is found guilty of murdering 3 men, 3 people. Murillo, he did not get convicted for, including 2 of which were branded, for Christ's sake. Yeah. So this is Ricky and Kevin Nettles and Dennis Henderson, Denny Ray. They also found special circumstances in the allegations that he committed kidnapping, torture, and multiple murders, which is a big deal here. The jury was deadlocked in the killing of Murillo, though, which is fucking sad, I gotta say.
That's fucked up.
So finally, sentencing is January of 2016, and I must say, they give him a good one. They say, you, sir, may fuck off. 3 consecutive life terms with no parole.
Wowza.
No parole, 3 consecutive. Eat dicks, in other words. You could live for 300 fucking years and you'd still be in that fucking jail. Eat shit. So, yeah, he is out. That's fucking, he's done. He's in prison forever. We're never going to fucking hear from him again. He won't talk.
That just happened.
He won't talk. He won't say anything. Oh, that was January 2016.
My Christ.
When we started this show in February 2016, I was reading about this going on at the time, thinking, Jesus Christ, there's so many criminal athletes. And that's when I started talking to you about doing this show. This was one of the triggers for it. Was that
started this.
It helped. It really, really did. I just kind of clicked in like, oh man, there's like murderers and shit too, not just people who, get DUIs. Can't get enough of Anthony Smith?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
You can go on eBay. They have like a 1990 Topps traded, number 53 in the set. Anthony Smith, Oakland Raiders rookie card, 99 cents plus $3.99 shipping.
That's a deal.
That's not
for
bad.
A murderer's football card?
Not too shabby. Also, memorabilia.expert.com, a signed pair of cleats that Anthony, they're not game worn, but they're the same cleats that they wear. Signed by him, Apex brand, like they wear in football, $100.
That's a deal.
Which isn't too shabby if you want to have a murderer's shoes.
You could even wear
signed
those.
To you.
If you play in some beer league,
you can go run around in those.
Same price.
Like, this guy killed a guy. Isn't it fucking funny? And then he signed it. Terrific.
That's buying a pair of cleats and getting a free autograph.
Not bad. Not too shabby at all. That is Anthony Smith, everybody. That is the mess that is Anthony Smith that he made. A lot of people have requested this episode for a long time, and I don't blame them. We wanted to do it. We were just, it'll get there.
God.
And that's a lot of murder. We promised you murder, goddammit.
We did.
And if you like that, what you need to do is head over to iTunes or Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, wherever the fuck it is.
Purple icon?
Purple icon. Give us 5 stars, damn it. Doesn't matter what you say. Tell us you're following instructions, following directions. Also, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com.
Yes.
There's links to all our t-shirts and all the merch and all that good stuff. Also, there's links to buy tickets to upcoming small town murder shows this Thursday. If you're listening when it comes out, 2 days from now, we're in Houston. Next day, we're in Dallas. Can't wait for that. And if you want to be an even bigger superstar, you can follow us on social media through there. Also, at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook and all that. Follow us there. The links are at shutupandgivememurder.com. And possibly the most important links there are the ones that take you to patreon.com/crime and sports
to keep this show going.
To donate, and also to PayPal, where you can use our email address, which is crimeandsports@gmail.com. And you can make a one-time donation there. And it really does keep the show going. And who are our list of superstar, wonderful, fabulous, incredible human beings this week? Jimmy, hit me with it now.
This week's executive producers are Sean Fitzgerald, Chrissy Ann Castaldi every goddamn week. She's
Thank
amazing.
you, guys. God damn it.
Angie Todd, Heather Gunn, Teresa Lazari, Christine Palmer, Emmy Dumont, and Vanessa Iafola, who happens to be a professor of some sort.
Cool.
And she loves your research. So
wow,
you very much, you guys, for being so amazing.
Really,
Abigail Chapman, Kelly Higby, Ashley Vio, Jesse Herrera and Jesse Hartman, Laura Souter, Paul Ruest, Hannah Just, Lauren Demarath, Christopher Anderlecht, Mariella Rosas is back. Thank you, Mariella. Kathleen Anonymous. She gave her name, but I put Kathleen Anonymous just because I wanted to give her a little bit of credit. There's a million Kathleen.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Matthew Dietrich, Rebecca Brahms, Jay Mullins, Teresa Schushenflug. What? No way I just did that.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Did you just rock that out?
Anita Paulo, Stephanie Igoa. Yes. Gary Howard, Janet Holm, Nina. Oh, shit! I thought I was going to get it. Nina Jorenstad. Justin Miller, thanks, man. The guy, he comes through every week and he leaves he donates and leaves the podcast that he listened to for the donation. He like 7 of them a week. It's fucking amazing.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Andrew
incredible.
Wigand, yeah, it's amazing. Andrew Wigand, Sinfully Delightful Clean Eating, Carla Broman, Simon Deek, he just goes by Deek, Ariana Folsom, Stacy Langto, Bryant Toole, Kyle Roberts, Kara Lewis, Nikki Dunn, Jesse Ann Shields Tobish. Holy shit, that's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Matt Baines, Tanya Romisher. Yes.
Yes.
Dennis E. Arias, Andy Rue, Ricky Dickey. Nicole Cook, Amy E. Whitaker, Francis Beswick, Alana Pop. Oh, fucking, I almost got it. Alana Pop. No, I didn't. I didn't come anywhere near it. Alana Popolowski.
Who you fooling?
I know.
The fuck are you fooling?
Andrew Bushholes, Butchholes.
Buttholes? Did you just call her buttholes?
Is it Andrew? Is your last name Buttholes?
Well,
Reagan
stands out. It's distinctive.
Reagan Shalkley, Scott and Allison Patzner, Bobby Burden, Brandon Coffrin, Kimberly Owen Goldstein, Mary Meeks, Brett Welch, Caitlin Stupik, Christine Towles, Mark Schaefer. That was the easiest name I've ever fucked up. Pamela Rogers, Mark Anderson, Kate Ives. Oh boy, Ioani Utin. Fucking Iwan.
Got that?
Iwani Itinji? I don't know. Barbara Figueredo. It's Figueroa, but Arito. You know what I mean?
Figueroa Arito?
No, that's not it either.
Figueroa Dorito?
Thank you, Barbara. Brandy Lee, Beth Varwood. Yes. Joshua Norberg, Bill McClellan, Chris Bakey, or Back, Carrie, what is that? Oh, that's Taylor, Carrie Taylor, hey. Zachary Warburton, Force of Nature podcast. They donated. I don't know what their podcast is. Give it a shout. Brinshindo 39. Cammie Rock is back. Thank you, Cammie. Hayden Pyatt.
Yeah, thank you.
Ross McGowan. She's terrific. She's up there, and she was up in Sacramento, right? Yes.
Yes.
Cammie Rock was.
Yeah.
Ross McGowan. Sheena has Tilipov. Sheena Haas Tilipov.
Sheena has a Tilipov.
Tilipo, maybe. Matt Ward. Nathan Sanders, Thomas Smither. Damn it. Ryan Shipman, Heather Campbell, and Libby Payat. Thank you guys for being so amazing to us. We can't do it without you.
Thank you. Honestly, it's we're blown away by it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Honestly, you guys are the best, and we just can't thank you for everything that you guys do. We can't thank you enough for it, between the donations and the cool stuff you send us, and coming out to the live shows and everything, and getting the T-shirts. Thank you guys so much for making our lives, actually livable and have purpose.
Truly,
and
you guys have fucking
make our dreams
changed
come true.
Our lives.
Thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate it. And what if one of these people wanted to change your life, Jimmy? Where could they find you to do that?
You can find me at Wisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I appreciate you guys so much. This has been a fucking amazing journey. And if you want to remind James what kind of journey you've been having with him, where can they do that?
And no bullshit. We really mean that. You can find me at Jimmy P is Funny, or you can copy and paste my last name from the show description and look for me that way. It's much easier because you won't spell it right otherwise. Yeah. But never mind all of that shit. This has been a wild episode. We promised crazy.
Holy shit.
And we got fucking 4 murders and a crazy arson and a dumbass criminal.
Damn near 3 hours of it.
Damn near 3 hours of it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't, go fuck yourself because we tried our best. Sorry. Live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus